na kalilipas.
Kami po dito nag-iimbestiga. Ibigay ang mga records available sa Ombudsman, sa DOJ at lahat para mag-file sila ng kaso at di po kami nagpa-file ng kaso. May nangyayari po sa investigasyon dito. Ilan na huya. Mahirap mag-imbestiga pero hinaharap natin ang kahirapan para mapuksa itong salot ng bayan na ito.
Nang magsimula ang pandemya, dugo, pawis at buhay ang inalay ng ating mga frontliners, mailigtas lamang ang ating mga kababayan. Upang masiguro ang kanilang kaligtasan at masukulian ang kanilang kabayanihan, isinulong ni Senator Gordon sa Bayanihan 1 at Bayanihan 2 ang libreng COVID testing sa mga medical professionals.
Leadership is action. It is not position. I want to see our country have the respect that it should have.
Para naman sa ating mga overseas Filipino workers, isinulong ni Senator Gordon na maisabatas ang Social Security Act of 2018. Dahil dito, kabilang na sa SSS ang mga land-based at sea-based OFWs upang masiguro ang komportable nilang retirement. Sa agrikultura naman, mahigit 2.2 milyong magsasaka ang makikinabang sa Agricultural Free Patent Reform Act. Sa pamamagitan ng batas na ito, mas malayang makakagalaw ang credit ng magsasaka at agrikultural na mga ngalakal dahil luluwagan na ang restriksyon sa mga patent. Lalong lalago ang mga micro, small, and medium enterprises sa bansa. Isinulong din ni Senator Gordon na maisabatas ang free irrigation service to small farmers kung saan hindi na kinakailangang magbayad ng service fee sa National Irrigation Administration ang mga maliliit na magsasaka. Dahil nakita ni Senator Gordon na mabagal ang usad ng mga kaso sa bansa, itinulak niyang maisabatas ang Judges at Large Act of 2019. Sa batas na ito, magkakaroon ng 100 bakanteng posisyon para sa Regional Trial Judges at Large at 50 posisyon naman sa Municipal Trial Judges at Large sa buong bansa. Mababawasan ang mga pending cases sa mga hukuman dahil mas marami na ang magdidinig sa mga ito. Restorative justice, jail decongestion, at opportunity for healing and reintegration naman ang nais makamit ni Senator Gordon nang ipinasa niya ang Community Service Act na siyang nilagdaan ni Pangulong Duterte noong 2019. Sa batas na ito, imbis na ikulong ang minor offenders, magseserbisyo na lamang sila sa kanilang komunidad. Nakatulong na sila, nabigyan pa sila ng pag-asa. Ang mga ito'y ilan lamang sa mahalagang batas na buong sigasig na isinulong ni Senator Gordon para sa kapakanan ng ating bansa. Patunay na kahit anong posisyon ang ibigay sa kanya, kayang-kaya niyang tindigan.
What do Filipinos want? Do they want order or do they want chaos that we have today? Do they want change? Do you really want change? You have to stand your ground in this country. You need a president with a clear vision who knows where he's going to take the country and he's going to say, this is the standard that every Filipino should be.
Because our country can be a great country. Countries are great not because of leaders alone, but because of the cooperation of leaders and people together. Of having a common good, but looking not at the need of the moment, but are coming out with an entire program where you can sustain it until you lick the problem. Of a country that doesn't fix the blame, but fixes the problems.
Senator Dick Gordon, tumitindig, humaharap sa hamon, nagseserbisyo. Dahil para sa kanya, babangon ang bayan at magbabago ang bayan.
Isipan ko, worried ako para sa buong pamilya ko. Kasi lahat kami, asawa ko, 4 na anak ko, ako, lahat kami nag-positive. Hindi ko alam kung anong gagawin ko.
Ako po si Ranyo Libre, vendor ng isda sa palengke. Ang aking anak ay nagkaroon ng sakit ng COVID-19.
14 hours na kaming nasa ambulance ng father ko para maghanap ng hospital at saka makukuhaan ng swab test. Hindi namin alam yung gagawin namin noon. Hindi namin alam kung sino yung kukontakin.
Yung una, yung asawa ko, na-isolate sila ng 2 anak ko. Sinabihan siya na meron siyang pneumonia, na kailangan niyang magpa-admit, na kailangan niyang magbayad ng 80,000 per day sa ospital na yon. Hindi po namin kaya ang 80,000 isang araw. Ang Red Cross po merong emergency field hospital sa Alang Center. So nagpapasalamat po talaga kami. Pagdating namin dito, inasikaso kami. Talagang nakita ko po yung paggaling ng asawa ko. Mabuti na lang talaga. May mga initiative si chairman na ganito, na mag-set up ng ganitong facility para matulungan yung mga, hindi lang kami, hindi lang staff, lahat. Hindi ko po alam kung anong nangyari sa asawa ko kung walang ganito.
Isa sa mga relatives ko nagbigay ng number ni Senator Gordon. Madaling araw na siya at saka senator siya. Hindi ko alam kung sasagutin niya pero trinay ko pa rin mag-text. One text lang yung ginawa ko pero around 3 minutes nag-reply agad siya and nagulat ako personally. Nag-call siya kung kamusta na ako, anong nangyayari. Ginawa niya kami ng schedule for swab test. It's free sa Red Cross Mandaluyong. Then hinanapan niya kami ng hospital na mapag-a-admitan ni Father.
Gamit po ang napakagandang ambulansya at napakalaki, kumpleto sa gamit. Naging kampante po ang aming kaisipang mag-asawa dahil nawala ang alalahanin namin. Tiwala kaming magiging mabilis ang kanyang recovery.
Nagpapasalamat po ako sa inyo sa malaking naitulong niyo po sa akin tsaka sa family ko. Lalong-lalo na po nung nagkaroon po ako ng COVID, naging severe ako. Isang tawag ko lang po sa inyo, talagang napadala niyo po kagad ako ng convalescent plasma na naging dahilan po kung bakit mabilis akong naka-recover. Hindi ko pa ini-expect na isang senator po na mag-aalala po. Hindi ko pa expected na ganun po ako mapapahalagahan ng isang Senator Gordon po. So maraming salamat po, Senator Gordon.
Sir, maraming pong salamat sa convalescent plasma. After receiving a plasma that you have given me during when I was admitted with a critical stage of COVID pneumonia, my condition improved a lot. With your help, I'm here today, healthy and continuing to serve our people. I could not thank you enough for extending your kind assistance to me, sir.
Maraming salamat sa tulong na binigay nyo. Sana po ay marami pa kayong matulungan at hindi kayo magbago. Sana i-bless po kayo ng Panginoon at pagtibayin niya kayo. Senator Gordon from Villegas family, maraming salamat sa lahat.
Ang pagkakaroon ng COVID-19 ay nagbigay ng malaking epekto sa aking buhay. Dahil dito, naging mapagpasalamat ako sa mga bagay na meron ako, maliit man o malaki. Chairman Dick Gordon, maraming salamat po sa inyo. Dahil po sa tulong na ibinigay ninyo, ito po ako ngayon, katulong nyo sa pagbibigay ng mga serbisyo ng Philippine Red Cross.
Nagpapasalamat po talaga kami. Habang buhay namin itong ipagpapasalamat na iligtas po yung buhay ng asawa ko dahil dito.
Mula sa pagsabog ng bulkang Pinatubo na itinuturing na ikalawa sa pinakamalaking volcanic eruption sa buong mundo kung saan 8,000 aita ang nasagip, 1 minutong lindol na mahigit 2,000 ang namatay, ang magnitude 7.8 killer quake na puminsala sa Northern at Central Luzon. Ang pagbayo ng iba't ibang malalakas na bagyo sa bansa, katulad ng Super Typhoon Yolanda na pinakamalakas na bagyo sa buong mundo noong 2013 at nagpadapa sa Eastern Visayas. Gera sa Mindanao at pagkidnap sa 3 ICRC workers na sumubok sa organisasyon ng Red Cross sa buong mundo. Hindi bumitiw si Dick Gordon sa pakikipagnegosasyon sa mga bandido at nagpalakas ng loob sa 3 ICRC workers masiguro lamang ang kanilang kaligtasan at hanggang sa kanilang paglaya. At ang pagkalat na nakamamatay na coronavirus, ang COVID-19 na sa kasalukuyan ay kumitil na ng mahigit 4 na milyong buhay sa buong mundo. upang labanan ang COVID-19 sa pamumuno ni Chairman Dick Gordon. Itinayo niya ang mga molecular laboratories na magpapalawak sa COVID-19 testing capacity sa bansa. Sa kasalukuyan, may 14 na molecular laboratories na ang Philippine Red Cross na itinayo sa iba't ibang probinsya. Ito ay may 44 na PCR machines na may combined capacity na 48,000 tests kada araw. Isinulong rin ng Philippine Red Cross ang saliva RT-PCR test na mas mura, mabilis at alternatibo sa swab test. Pinangunahan ni Chairman Gordon ang pagbibigay ng cash at food assistance sa mga labis na naapektuhan ng kahirapan dahil sa pandemya. Mangunguna ang mga single parents, senior citizens at persons with disabilities. Dahil sa pagdami ng kaso ng COVID-19, agad siyang nakipag-ugnayan sa Metropolitan Manila Development Authority o MMDA at mga mayor ng iba't ibang lungsod upang magkaroon ng isolation facilities na tutulong upang maiwasang magkaroon pa ng hawaan sa mga pamilya ng mga positibong individual. Sinuportahan niya ang mga ospital na hindi na kinakaya ang umaapaw na dami ng mga pasyenteng may sakit sa pamamagitan ng mga emergency field hospitals na may kapasidad upang suportahan ang mga pasyente hanggang sa kanilang tuluyang paggaling. Pinangunahan din ni Chairman Gordon ang kampanya upang mapaigting ang pagbabakuna laban sa COVID-19. Bukod sa itinayong bakuna centers, nariyan din ang mobile vaccine bus na inilalapit mismo sa mga komunidad na may mataas na kaso ng COVID-19. Mula Enero hanggang Agosto ngayong taon, sa kabila ng kakapusan ng supply ng dugo dala ng pandemya, nakapagtala ang Philippine Red Cross ng 92,371 na pasyenteng nabigyan ng dugo at sa kanyang matatag na pamumuno. Tuloy-tuloy ang modernisasyon ng Philippine Red Cross upang mapalawak ang serbisyo sa tao. Nariyan ang makabagong operation center, pagdaragdag ng ambulansya, fire truck, rescue trucks, water tankers, rescue boats at ang MV Amazing Grace na humanitarian vessel. At pagtayo ng hemodialysis center sa Port Area Manila headquarters ng Philippine Red Cross na tutugon sa mga kababayan nating may kidney failure. Dito makikita ang 10 state-of-the-art dialysis machines na kayang tugunan ng 60 hanggang 70 pasyente. Higit 151,643 na bahay ang naipatayo ng Philippine Red Cross sa ilalim ng pamumuno ni Chairman Dick Gordon. Bahay na simbolo ng pagbangon at pag-asa ng pamilyang nasalanta ng kalamidad. Mula noon hanggang ngayon, kasama natin si Dick Gordon sa lahat ng unos ng ating buhay. Walang pagod na ibinabangon ng ating bayan na pinapadapa ng iba't ibang pagsubok at binabago ang ating buhay ng may dignidad at pinapalabas ang galing ng bawat isa sa atin. Nangunguna, lumalaban, dumaramay. Ikaw ang aming maaasahan, Dick Gordon. Maraming salamat.
Nung Sabado, nung hirap na hirap po kaming maghanap ng dugo para kay Tita Marisa sa asawa ni Sec Charlie who was undergoing a procedure in St. Luke's. 5 a.m. gising ka. And hirap na hirap kami. Hindi namin malaman kung saan kami kukuha ng dugo. Pero nandun ka. No? And countless other Filipinos. Alam namin na ginagawa mo yan para kahit sino. Kahit na sinong Pilipino gagawin mo yun. You will wake up, you will not sleep, you will do everything you can because you just love everybody so much. Maraming salamat po dahil yung hindi nakikita ng media, yung hindi nakikita ng tao, kami po ni Sec Galvez, nakita namin yan sa iyo dito sa laban natin sa COVID-19. The entire country owes you a debt of gratitude for all the sacrifice you have given. Hindi ko talaga sukat i-explain sa mga makakapanood ng video ito, how much of a national treasure you are for the entire country. Thank you very much, and please po, huwag kang hihinto. The country needs you.
Nais ko lang sabihin at aminin sa lahat na ako po ay isa sa mga laging natutulungan ng Philippine Red Cross. At syempre, si Senator Dick Gordon. Kapag ka po ako ay may tinutulungan na ibang tao, lumalapit sa programa dahil kailangan nila ng dugo, wala akong agad iniisip kundi puntahan, kontakin itong mga taga Red Cross kasi kahit ano ang i-request ko, sasabihin nila, madali lang yan. Sa abot ng kanilang makakaya ay tutulong at tutulong sila. Hindi dahil ako ay media personality, kundi talagang feel ko ramdam ko yung kanilang sinseridad sa pagtulong po sa mga tao, lalo na yung talagang nangangailangan. Ako personal mismo, ito nagkasakit po ako, saludo po ako sa ginawa para sa akin ng Philippine Red Cross at Senator Dick Gordon. Kung wala kayo, ako hindi ko na alam kung ano nangyari sa akin, hindi ba? Kaya maraming salamat. Pagpatuloy niyo po, Red Cross, ang ginagawa ninyo, isa kayong malaking blessing para sa mga Pilipino, para sa lahat.
Malaking pasasalamat ko po sa Philippine Red Cross sa pamumuno ni Senator Richard Gordon at isa po ako sa nabigyan ng 3,500 cash assistance. Nakatulong po sa akin yun pagbili ng maintenance ng aking anak. Nakatulong din po para maitawid ang pang-araw-araw na pangangailangan ng aming pamilya.
Isa po ako sa mga nabigyan ng tulong ni Senator Dick Gordon at ng Philippine Red Cross at Multipurpose Cash Grant. Nagamit ko po para pambili ng mga gamit. Malaki po ang pasasalamat ko kay Chairman Gordon sa mga tulong na binigay niya sa amin. Naway, marami pa po siyang matulungan. Kailangan po namin ng isang leader na kagaya mo.
Isa po ako sa nasiraan ng bahay dahil sa bagyong Rolly. Yun po, nakatanggap po ako ng tulong pagpagawa ng bagong bahay. Nagpapasalamat po ako kay Chairman Gordon at Philippine Red Cross. Dahil sa kanila ngayon nakapagsisimula na po ako ng pagpagawa ng bahay.
Maraming po salamat kay Senator Dick Gordon. Binigyan niyo po ako ng cellphone, saka wheelchair po. Dahil po doon natapos po yung pag-online class ko. Lagi po kayo mag-iingat. Iwasan niyo po magkasakit para po marami pa po kayo matulungan. Maraming po salamat dahil di niyo po nakakalimutan ng tulong ko kahit nasa gitna tayo ng pandemya.
Napakahirap po talaga ang sakit ng dialysis. Hindi ko po alam kung saan ako kukuha ng pera na para pambayad kung ako napapunta sa ibang hospital. Kaya nga sabi ko ma'am sa sarili ko, kung hindi ako makapagpa-dialysis dito, gusto ko nang iuwi sa probinsya. Total, wala kaming kagalingan eh. Kami mga nagdadialysis dito ay malaking utang na loob kay Chairman Gordon. Kada ako'y pumupunta dito, ako'y nagdarasal, nagpapasalamat sa Panginoon. Pati injection nga, nalibre na rin dito. First time ko pong nahawakan ng kamay niya at ako'y talagang halos galak na galak sa pagkakataong ito. Sana po kayo marami pa rin matulungan mga taong kapares ko na may sakit.
Dialysis is a crippling disease. It's a crippling procedure. Kung mahirap ka papasok, kung yung mayaman nahihirapan, lalo na kung mahirap. A very proud volunteer stands before you because today we inaugurate another milestone in the history of the Red Cross. This is probably the first Red Cross dialysis center in the whole universe. We are here to alleviate human suffering and provide human dignity.
And domestic sea travel to and from Metro Manila shall be suspended because
Galing Pinas, Galing Pinas.
Welcome to the Philippines, the paradise of investment opportunities in the Asia-Pacific region. The Philippine Economic Zone Authority is managing a globally competitive and ecologically sustainable environment for your investments and industries as exporters of goods and services to the world market. The Philippine Economic Zone Authority, as an investment promotion agency, oversees and administers incentives to ecozone developers and locators in world-class, environment-friendly, secured, and competitively priced special economic zones that are ready to host export industries that are into manufacturing, processing, refinery, assembly, IT/BPO, tourism, medical tourism, and agro-industry. So why the Philippines?
Dole chose the Philippines and Mindanao specifically here in South Cotabato because the agronomic conditions are perfect for growing pineapples. So we are very close to the equator. We get a consistent climate over 12 months.
Which means we can plant the whole year round.
Philippine location is strategically situated in Southeast Asia. Logistic operation is another advantage, especially on import and export movement that is relevant to Samsung supply chain.
The Philippines is the fastest growing economy among the ASEAN 6 countries.
The Philippines has got a very large pool of highly trainable and really passionate workers, and I think that's one of the key things that is important in our industry, which is highly people-centric. We've got world-class facilities here and infrastructure. We've got government and PEZA support that allows us to facilitate our operation here.
Generally, education standard is quite high. There are many graduates from university and college. That's why we thought hiring would be easier for us.
1 million Filipinos reach the working age every year. We are also the only ASEAN country granted the GSP status by both the United States and the European Union, meaning Philippine exports can enter the US and the European region tariff-free. Over the years, we have developed the PEZA brand of service for ease of doing business. First, we are a one-stop shop. Second, we are a non-stop shop. There is no red tape, only red carpet treatment. And lastly, in PEZA, there is no graft, no corruption.
PEZA is renowned and highly respected for its one-stop shop policy. And as a matter of fact, it is highly regarded globally because of its no corruption tolerance and also its campaign against red tape.
The office in Manila, for example, there are other government agencies that reside within the office, such as the Bureau of Immigration and Bureau of Customs, which makes it a lot easier for us to secure the necessary permits to deliver our business in country. We are also recognized in 2019 as the PEZA Employer of the Year in terms of large enterprise.
PEZA is giving us a 5% GIT, inclusive of all taxes in the Philippines. We even get income tax holiday for new projects that we're bringing into this country. As a matter of fact, most countries has patterned their export industry using PEZA as their model.
First, timely and consistent processing through PEZA's one-stop shop concept.
Second, assistance by the very accommodating and capable PEZA personnel.
Third, partnership. We are in good company with PEZA.
PEZA was also the only economic zone agency cited by the IFC World Bank for best practice among economic zones worldwide.
We've been able to expand our portfolio in terms of technologies and also markets. We are now supplying to North America, to Europe, Asia. Effectively, we're very much a worldwide company now as a result of the ease of doing business.
Here in the Philippines, you are very culturally affiliated to North America, and that's something that our North American customers love a lot, which is why they choose to come here by the droves. Philippines has grown and is one of the largest, in fact the largest center for voice outsourcing across the globe.
The 40 years of operation of Texas Instruments in the Philippines is already more than enough manifestation of how we greatly appreciate and value the services of the Philippine Economic Zone Authority.
So if I have my way, I would say that we have to expand PESA and even convert the whole country into a PESA zone to improve the competitiveness of this country, provide more jobs for our people.
Experience the best of the Philippines, the best place to invest in. Galing Pinas, Galing Pinas.
The country is not working, my dear. And I don't want to be one of those like Gone with the Wind. Frankly, Scarlett, I don't give a damn. I do give a damn.
Sa kanyang 5 taong panunungkulan bilang mambabatas, pinatunayan niyang walang imposible basta't may kusang loob, malasakit at kapwa-tao.
I will work hard. Whatever position is given to me, we will work hard. This is the People's Senate.
Ipinagkatiwala sa kanyang pamumuno ng 3 malalaki at mahalagang komite sa Senado na nagdidinig ng mga panukalang batas na siyang mag-aangat sa buhay ng ating mga kababayan. Sa ilalim ng pamumuno ni Senator Dick Gordon sa Committee on Accountability of Public Officers and Investigations o mas kilala bilang Blue Ribbon Committee, walang takot niyang inimbestigahan ang malalaking anomalya tulad ng mga sumusunod. Nawawalang 15 bilyong piso sa PhilHealth sa kasagsagan ng pandemya. Dahil sa sinimulang investigasyon ni Senator Gordon, 8 matataas sa pwesto ng ahensya ang sinuspinde ng Ombudsman. Ninja Cops. Naging kontrobersyal naman ang investigasyon ng Blue Ribbon Committee sa tinaguriang Ninja Cops, kung saan 13 opisyal ng PNP ang pinangalan ng sangkot sa drug recycling scheme. Nagresulta ito sa pagbibitiw sa pwesto ni dating PNP Chief Oscar Albayalde. GCTA. Nabuking naman ang umano'y pinagkakakitaang Good Conduct Time Allowance o GCTA sa mga high-profile inmates o big-time na preso kung saan sangkot si dating Bureau of Corrections Director General Nicanor Faeldon. Sa naturang investigasyon, lumitaw ang iba pang irregularidad sa Bucor tulad ng pagtatayo ng kubol para sa high-profile inmates, hospital passes for sale, malayang paggamit ng preso ng cellphones para maisagawa ang drug trade at iba pa.
Talamak ba talaga yung lagayan dyan? Kung gusto mo magkaroon ng telepono, kung lalagay ka, 5%. Magkano lagay? Depende sir sa klase ng telepono.
Tara System. Bago pa man madawit ang pangalan ni Faeldon sa GCTA scandal, nauna na siyang nasangkot sa pagkakapasok ng smuggled shabu mula sa China na nagkakahalagang 6.4 billion pesos noong siya ay commissioner ng Bureau of Customs. Ang broker na si Mark Ruben Taguba ang nagsiwalat sa pagkakaugnay ni Faeldon at ng iba pang customs officials sa smuggling. August 2017, nagbitiw si Faeldon sa pwesto. Immigration Bribery Scandal. Makalipas ang mahigit 3 taon mula nung pangunahan ni Senator Gordon ang investigasyon sa bribery scandal sa Bureau of Immigration, sinintensyahan ng Sandigan Bayan noong June 25 ng reklusyon perpetua o panghabang buhay na pagkakakulong sina dating Immigration Associate Commissioners Al Argusino at Michael Robles, maging si retired Police Colonel Wenceslao Sumbero sa kasong plunder at graft dahil sa pangingikil ng 50 milyong piso mula sa Chinese gaming tycoon na si Jack Lam. 5 taon na ang nakalilipas.
Kami po dito nag-iimbestiga. Ibigay ang mga records available sa Ombudsman, sa DOJ at lahat para mag-file siya ng kaso at di po kami nagpa-file ng kaso. May nangyayari po sa investigasyon dito. Ilan na huya. Mahirap mag-imbestiga pero hinaharap natin ang kahirapan para mapuksa itong salot ng bayan na ito.
Nang magsimula ang pandemya, dugo, pawis at buhay ang inalay ng ating mga frontliners, mailigtas lamang ang ating mga kababayan. Upang masiguro ang kanilang kaligtasan at masuklian ang kanilang kabayanihan, isinulong ni Senator Gordon sa Bayanihan 1 at Bayanihan 2 ang libreng COVID testing sa mga medical professionals.
Leadership is action. It is not position. I want to see our country have the respect that it should have.
Para naman sa ating mga overseas Filipino workers, isinulong ni Senator Gordon na maisabatas ang Social Security Act of 2018. Dahil dito, kabilang na sa SSS ang mga land-based at sea-based OFWs upang masiguro ang komportable nilang retirement. Sa agrikultura naman, mahigit 2.2 milyong magsasaka ang makikinabang sa Agricultural Free Patent Reform Act. Sa pamamagitan ng batas na ito, mas malayang makakagalaw ang credit ng magsasaka at agrikultural na mga ngalakal dahil luluwagan na ang restriksyon sa mga patent. Lalong lalago ang mga micro, small, and medium enterprises sa bansa. Isinulong din ni Senator Gordon na maisabatas ang free irrigation service to small farmers kung saan hindi na kinakailangang magbayad ng service fee sa National Irrigation Administration ang mga maliliit na magsasaka. Dahil nakita ni Senator Gordon na mabagal ang usad ng mga kaso sa bansa, itinulak niyang maisabatas ang Judges at Large Act of 2019. Sa batas na ito, magkakaroon ng 100 bakanteng posisyon para sa Regional Trial Judges at Large at 50 posisyon naman sa Municipal Trial Judges at Large sa buong bansa. Mababawasan ang mga pending cases sa mga hukuman dahil mas marami na ang magdidinig sa mga ito. Restorative justice, jail decongestion, at opportunity for healing and reintegration naman ang nais makamit ni Senator Gordon nang ipinasa niya ang Community Service Act na siyang nilagdaan ni Pangulong Duterte noong 2019. Sa batas na ito, imbis na ikulong ang minor offenders, magseserbisyo na lamang sila sa kanilang komunidad. Nakatulong na sila, nabigyan pa sila ng pag-asa. Ang mga ito'y ilan lamang sa mahalagang batas na buong sigasig na isinulong ni Senator Gordon para sa kapakanan ng ating bansa. Patunay na kahit anong posisyon ang ibigay sa kanya, kayang-kaya niyang tindigan.
What do Filipinos want? Do they want order or do they want chaos that we have today? Do they want change? Do you really want change? You have to stand your ground in this country. You need a president with a clear vision who knows where he's going to take the country and he's going to say, this is the standard that every Filipino should be.
Because our country can be a great country. Countries are great not because of leaders alone, but because of the cooperation of leaders and people together. Of having a common good, but looking not at the need of the moment, but are coming out with an entire program where you can sustain it until you lick the problem. Of a country that doesn't fix the blame, but fixes the problems.
Senator Dick Gordon, tumitindig, humaharap sa hamon, nagseserbisyo. Dahil para sa kanya, babangon ang bayan at magbabago ang bayan.
Isipan ko, worried ako para sa buong pamilya ko. Kasi lahat kami, asawa ko, 4 na anak ko, ako, lahat kami nag-positive. Hindi ko alam kung anong gagawin ko.
Ako po si Rani Libre, vendor ng isda sa palengke. Ang aking anak ay nagkaroon ng sakit ng COVID-19.
14 hours na kaming nasa ambulance ng father ko para maghanap ng hospital at saka makukuhaan ng swab test. Hindi namin alam yung gagawin namin noon. Hindi namin alam kung sino yung kukontakin.
Yung una, yung asawa ko, na isolate sila ng 2 anak ko. Sinabihan siya na meron siyang pneumonia, na kailangan niyang magpa-admit, na kailangan niyang magbayad ng 80,000 per day sa ospital na yon. Hindi po namin kayang 80,000 isang araw. Ang Red Cross po merong emergency field hospital sa Alang Center. So nagpapasalamat po talaga kami. Pagdating namin dito, inasikaso kami. Talagang nakita ko po yung paggaling ng asawa ko. Mabuti na lang talaga. May mga initiative si chairman na ganito, na mag-set up ng ganitong facility para matulungan yung mga, hindi lang kami, hindi lang staff, lahat. Hindi ko po alam kung anong nangyari sa asawa ko kung walang ganito.
Isa sa mga relatives ko nagbigay ng number ni Senator Gordon. Madaling araw na siya at saka senator siya. Hindi ko alam kung sasagutin niya, pero trinay ko pa rin mag-text. One text lang yung ginawa ko, pero around 3 minutes nag-reply agad siya, and nagulat ako personally. Nag-call siya kung kamusta na ako, anong nangyayari. Ginawa niya kami ng schedule for swab test. It's free sa Red Cross Mandaluyong. Then hinanapan niya kami ng hospital na mapag-aadmitan ni Father.
Gamit po ang napakagandang ambulansya at napakalaki, kumpleto sa gamit. Naging kampante po ang aming kaisipang mag-asawa dahil nawala ang alalahanin namin. Tiwala kaming magiging mabilis ang kanyang recovery.
Nagpapasalamat po ako sa inyo sa malaking naitulong niyo po sa akin tsaka sa family ko. Lalong-lalo na po nung nagkaroon po ako ng COVID, naging severe ako. Isang tawag ko lang po sa inyo, talagang napadala niyo po kagad ako ng convalescent plasma na naging dahilan po kung bakit mabilis akong naka-recover. Hindi ko pa ini-expect na isang senator po na mag-aalala po. Hindi ko pa expected na ganun po ako mapapahalagahan ng isang Senator Gordon po. So maraming salamat po, Senator Gordon.
Sir, marami pong salamat sa convalescent plasma. After receiving a plasma that you have given me during when I was admitted with a critical stage of COVID pneumonia, my condition improved a lot. With your help, I'm here today, healthy and continuing to serve our people. I could not thank you enough for extending your kind assistance to me, sir.
Maraming salamat sa tulong na binigay nyo. Sana po ay marami pa kayong matulungan at hindi kayo magbago. Sana i-bless po kayo ng Panginoon at pagtibayin niya kayo. Senator Gordon from Villegas family, maraming salamat sa lahat.
Ang pagkakaroon ng COVID-19 ay nagbigay ng malaking epekto sa aking buhay. Dahil dito, naging mapagpasalamat ako sa mga bagay na meron ako, maliit man o malaki. Chairman Dick Gordon, maraming salamat po sa inyo. Dahil po sa tulong na ibinigay ninyo, ito po ako ngayon, katulong nyo sa pagbibigay ng mga serbisyo ng Philippine Red Cross.
Nagpapasalamat po talaga kami. Habang buhay namin itong ipagpapasalamat na iligtas po yung buhay ng asawa ko dahil dito.
Before we officially begin our program, please be reminded of our virtual meeting house rules. First, please put your audio microphone on mute when you are not talking to avoid distraction and interruptions. Second, unless necessary, please keep your video or camera on as courtesy to the speakers. Third, put your complete name and indicate your office affiliation so that the host or the speaker can properly identify and address you. Fourth, ensure that you are in a quiet environment. Fifth, kindly have a decent background, virtual or actual. Sixth, please hold off your questions after the end of the presentation of the speakers. You may also opt to use the Raise Your Hands button so that the host can acknowledge you before you ask your question. Or, seventh, you may use the chat box to key in your questions in advance.
A most marvelous day, everyone, and welcome to the online nationwide forum on vaccination and reviving the economy. A Global Biz with PEZA's Special Edition. Let us all welcome our hosts for today's occasion. We have the Deputy Regional Director for Asia Pacific and Head of East Asia, International Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies, Miss Gwendolyn T. Pang. She is credited with helping to modernize the Philippine Red Cross into becoming the Philippines' foremost humanitarian organization. Currently, she is based in Beijing, China, where she is in charge of the East Asia Country Cluster for the IFRC, overseeing operations in South Korea, Mongolia, China, and Japan. Joining Ms. Gwendolyn Pang is the Group Manager of the Promotions and Public Relations Group, Philippine Economic Zone Authority, Mr. Alim Siddiqui M. Giapal. He is an Asian multi-awarded influencer and innovator who led various institutions both in the public and private sectors in the Philippines and a Fulbright Scholar. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Ms. Gwendolyn Pang and Mr. Alim Siddiqui Giapal.
Thank you. Good afternoon and a pleasant Friday
Hello, good
afternoon.
from the Philippine Economic Zone Authority. Hi, good afternoon, Director Gwen from
afternoon.
Beijing. I thought you're in Malaysia.
Hi, good afternoon, Alim. Hi, hello. No, I'm in Beijing. I'm in China now, and I'm still
Director
on
Gwen, will you
quarantine.
turn on your mic?
My microphone is on. Can you hear me? My microphone is on, Alim. Can you hear me? Sorry. Can you hear me, Alim?
Yeah, as mentioned earlier, we will be joined by our moderator from the Deputy Regional Director for Asia and the Pacific and head of the East Asia International Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies, Director Gwendolyn Pang. She actually served also as the former Secretary General of the Philippine Red Cross. We are very honored to have you join us this afternoon. Here at the podium from the Philippine Economic Zone Authority, we have the officials from the Management Committee of PESA, the Chief of Staff of the Director General, and of course, our resource person and speaker from PESA, our Director General, Brigadier General Charito Ching Plaza, MNSA PhD, joined by our Deputy Director General, DDG Teo Panga from the Policy and Planning Office. Hi, Director Gwen.
Hi, Alim. Good afternoon. Can you hear me now? I'm not sure if you heard me earlier. Is my audio coming good? Can you hear me?
I think, yeah, we can still hear you.
Okay, good. I'm not sure. So I think, can you hear me now,
I would like
Alim?
to thank the Office of Senator Gordon for co-organizing this event. It's titled Online Nationwide Forum on Vaccination and Reviving the Economy, and of course, the Philippine Red Cross. We also would like to acknowledge Deputy Director General Tereso Panga for coordinating for this event with the two offices we mentioned.
Okay. I think, Alim, I think you can hear me, but anyway, I checked with the room. So good afternoon to everyone, and hello again, Alim. So I think we are actually being joined by all viewers via YouTube Live, from PESA's official Facebook page, Philippine Red Cross official Facebook page, and also the official page of Senator Dick Gordon. So we have already received the reminders and of this virtual meeting. I hope you have taken note on that. So we would like to, I think Alim has already kickstart the meeting by acknowledging our esteemed guests. So I would like to acknowledge, guests from the PESA's industry. So I would like to acknowledge the presence of President of Semiconductor and Electronics Industry of the Philippines Foundation Incorporated, or the SAPI, Mr. Danilo Lachica. We have the President and CEO of the IT and Business Process Association of the Philippines, or the IBPUP, Mr. Ray Untal. We also have with us the Executive Director of the Confederation of Wearables Exporters of the Philippines, or the CONWEP. We have Ms. Marites Agoncillo. We have the President of the Philippine Ecozones Association, Mr. Francisco Salderiaga. Also joining us, the Director of the Philippine Association of Multinational Companies Regional Headquarters Incorporated, Ms. Celeste Ilagan. We have the Chairman of Call Center Association of the Philippines, Mr. Benedict Hernandez. Co-Chair of the Federation of Economic Zone Service Providers, we have Mr. Ferdinand Ferrer. And to all the valued stakeholders, locators, and investors from various companies and ecozones tuning in this virtual event. By the way, Alim, before you continue, I would also like to acknowledge all the family of the Philippine Red Cross who are here, family members of the Philippine Red Cross. I mean, we have Board of Governors, we have our executive staff, we have also our volunteers and staff, and also from the office of Senator Richard Dick Gordon. So we thank you tremendously for giving us your time today.
Thank you, Director Gwen. We also have some friends from the media, but before we acknowledge them, joining also our speaker, Director General Charito Ching Plaza, and Senator Richard Dick Gordon is the Special Advisor of the National Task Force to fight COVID-19. We have Dr. Teodoro Herbosa. He happens to be our primary speaker. And of course, as mentioned earlier, the Deputy Director General Pampesa and the members of the Management Committee, as well as the Board of Directors of the Philippine Economic Zone Authority. Allow us also to acknowledge the members of the media from the Manila Standard, Ms. Rochelle Campos. From Bombo Radio, we have Elmar. From the business world, we have Alisa Tan. From Malaya Business Insight, we have Irma Isip. From the Philippine Star, Luella Desiderio. From the Philippine Daily Inquirer, Roy Stephen Canivel. And from the ABS-CBN, Bruce Rodriguez and Mark Tataro. Also, as mentioned by Director Gwen, we are also joined by our colleagues, friends all over social media from Facebook, YouTube, and via Zoom platform. And again, Director Gwen, let us welcome them together in the online nationwide forum on vaccination and reviving the economy. A Global Beast with PESA special edition.
Thank you.
And now let us remain silent for the invocation, which will be followed by the singing of the Philippine National Anthem.
Our Heavenly Father, the fount of all goodness and grace, the cause of wisdom, the source of intelligence, we welcome you, O Lord, to this auspicious gathering of your beloved, who continuously give you thanks for every opportunity to learn something new and become fruitful to the works of your creation. We humbly come to you, not because we are worthy, but because we find ourselves in need of you, who is our strength and our hope, to continue despite the challenges we face in health, prosperity, and our solidarity with one another. We pray that today's gathering, made possible by the grace of advancements in technology and social media, becomes successful in its endeavors, so we can offer it back to you as our humble offering to honor you, glorify you, and love you through our deeper connection with everyone. May we find bliss in today's session and become more productive children and co-creators of the earth. This we ask and pray through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Mga kababayan, ang pambansang awit ng Pilipinas.
Thank you very much. Be seated, ladies and gentlemen. We are also live here at the Philippine Economic Zone Authority. As mentioned earlier, we are joined and grateful to have PESA Director General Charito Ching Plaza and Deputy Director General Tereso Panga. How's the weather in Beijing?
Well, it's sunny as you can see. Well, Alim and everyone, I'm actually in Beijing, China, still on quarantine. We have the quarantine requirement here is very strict to enter the country. You need to be quarantined for 21 days. So that's why this is my background. This is where I'm working. So I'm calling in from Beijing, China. Nice weather, but there's a surge also of cases here on COVID-19. So it's like almost everywhere in Asia now.
Yeah, we actually, DG Plaza was joined by Ambassador Santa Romana yesterday, and we were given a briefing that face-to-face mission, our economic mission in China may take some time physically, but we can pursue with our virtual meetings as well as economic missions. So yes, Director Gwen, you're excited to have a pool of speakers from PRC, from Office of Senator Gordon, and of course from PESA.
Yes, we have high-level speakers for this afternoon, and all talking about very important topics. And please, be active, participant this afternoon, because there are a lot of information that we will receive. But I'm sure you have also questions to be asked later.
Yes, Director Gwen, as mentioned earlier, we are joined by the PESA locators, and also our industry association, and the members and officials of the Chamber of Commerce registered under the Philippine Economic Zone Authority. As mentioned earlier by Director Gwen, we have represented the topics that we have today. We have COVID-19 Delta variant situationer, update on government vaccination program, and revisiting COVID health and safety protocols. Also, the talk of the Senator would be on national government initiative to address the impact of COVID-19 pandemic, and PESA updates and COVID measures balancing act under the Philippine Economic Zone Authority. Without further ado, Director Gwen, shall we introduce our first speaker?
Yes, please go ahead, Alim.
Yes, so our first speaker, he's the Special Advisor of the National Task Force to fight COVID-19. He will be discussing on a very timely and critical topic on COVID-19 Delta variant situationer, updates on government vaccination program, and revisiting COVID health and safety protocols. Our speaker was the Executive Vice President of the University of the Philippines from 2017 to 2020. He has extensive experience in trauma surgery and emergency medicine. He was Undersecretary of the Department of Health from 2010 to 2015, where he achieved the department's objective of implementing a universal health coverage. He was also the coordinator of foreign medical team during Typhoon Haiyan in 2013. Our speaker is also a former board member of the World Association for Disaster and Emergency Medicine, an international associate for Johns Hopkins University, implementing the hospital preparedness for emergencies under the USAID program. At the University of the Philippines, he started a fellowship program for trauma and residency program in emergency medicine. He served as chairman of the Physicians for Peace Philippines. His awards include the 2011 UP Alumni Association Distinguished Award Public Service, 2013 UP Alumni Association Distinguished Service Award, the 2012 Rotary International Rotary Golden Wheel Award, and he is currently the Chief of the Division Trauma of the Department of Surgery and the National Telehealth Center of the University of the Philippines, Manila. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let us give a warm welcome to Dr. Teodoro Herbosa, our first speaker this afternoon. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Alim, and good afternoon to everyone in PESA. Good afternoon, Gwen, in sunny Beijing. Nice to see you, even virtually. Allow me to share my screen to share the information I have. May I know if you can see my screen? Yeah, I suppose you can see my screen. Okay, so I'm here to give you the Vaccination program and important health and safety protocols that we can all implement at the workplace and in the home. These are my conflicts of interest of disclosure. Well, last year we had the surprise of a new pandemic that started. We have the COVID-19, the SARS coronavirus 2 that entered the Philippines, and by March we were already on a Luzon-wide lockdown or enhanced emergency community quarantine. And since that time, we have been struggling. Our economy has been affected. All of you who are in the economic zones know exactly what has happened. Many businesses had to be closed. Where there were a lot of controversies, uncertainty, things that went well and didn't go so well. In the beginning, they said people shouldn't wear masks. But then when they saw the trends of the countries that were able to manage SARS previously, their numbers were so much lower because of the wearing of universal masks. And this changed. Immediately, the WHO gave in and we allowed the public to wear masks. And today, with the entry of the Delta variant, many of the countries that vaccinated are again wearing masks in enclosed spaces. We also had a lot of learning from other epidemics, and one epidemic of note, and the Philippine Red Cross sent a team here to West Africa, was the lessons in Ebola. This was an outbreak in 2013, 2014, I think. Am I back? Sorry,
yes, Dr. Herbosa.
I think I got disconnected. Let me share my screen. Okay. Am I back? I guess I'm back online. I was disconnected for a while. And let me continue. As I said, the key lessons from the Ebola experience was, number one, the first thing you do is slow down the virus, take swift action to temporarily ban public gatherings, close schools, and allow your residents to stay home. The next is to do testing. Test, and rapidly scale up testing and bring it to as close as possible to the people. Number three is protect the healthcare workers so that they can provide care for the sick. Number four is repurpose arms of government, including the military, to support your pandemic response. And number five, plan for a recovery to focus to those affected by the pandemic's economic blow. So we are all experiencing this. The other thing I'd like to elucidate is the idea of a complex emergency. And when I was in school abroad, disasters were always defined as either a emergency or a complex emergency, and one wherein it describes. So that's a situation wherein a major humanitarian crisis is the result of a combination of political instability, conflict and violence, and social inequity and underlying poverty. As the pandemic rages on, I see all these elements actually with this year is an election year, so people are starting to throw mudslinging at each other, the opposition and administration. Conflict and violence continues because we have a 50-year-old insurgency that continues. And our social inequity increased because many people lost their jobs and their economic opportunities. The other things that's very important that we have to learn, and why we're having this session with over 400 people, 500 people of you here, is to learn more about this disaster, the importance of risk communication or crisis communication. But more important is to fight this pandemic, we need cooperation. We need coordination of government agencies and the collaboration of the private sector. And this is where I think we will all help each other. We've breached actually the 200 million cases worldwide. So this is an older slide, July 28. But the last I checked is over 200. It's already 4.5 million deaths. And the top 5 countries continue to be US, India, Brazil, Russia, and France. And in the Philippines is doing quite well. I wouldn't say very well, but we're right there in the middle. Our total cases is about 1.5 million. Our active cases is now 51 or 52,000 active cases. Our case fatality rate is low. It continues to be 1.7 to 1.8% of all the people that get the positive cases. And our cases per population is actually low. It's just 1,300 per 100,000. And we rank low on that. So that means we are controlling. And somehow, some of our measures that we're doing are actually good in preventing transmission, but bad in terms of our economy, because many of our economic industries got affected. But this has saved lives. I think the estimate is about anywhere from 1 to 2 million people's lives have been saved just by the very strict economic lockdown. More recently, we heard about the Delta variant. And these are the reports of the UP Philippine Genome Center that gives us the biosurveillance or the full genome sequence of the variants. The initial names were numbers: 117 from UK, 1351 from South Africa, P1 from Brazil, and P3 was the Philippine variant in Region 7. You can see that the predominant variant initially was the South African, closely followed by the UK variant. As the months progressed, the names were changed to Alpha from the UK, Beta from South Africa, Delta is the new one that came from India, and Gamma is the P1 that came from Brazil. And now there's even a Lambda, which is a variant of concern. From 2 cases, it immediately grew to like 216. Today, it's added 450 already now, not 331. So the data as of now is we've got 450 cases. And today, when we do about samples at the Philippine Genome Center, about 30% of the samples are now Delta. I think the last one I saw yesterday was almost as high as almost 40% were Delta. So Delta is fast overtaking the predominance of Beta. But if you combine everything, it is still a small percentage since last year. But of the new cases, many are Delta. These are previous reports of the DOH, and there are things that I'd like you to concentrate on. And this one is the new cases, mga bagong kaso. Yesterday, I think it was 12,000. So we never went down. This was the lowest after April surge, but we never went below 4,000. So we had continued transmission, and that allowed the variant to come in, and now we're at 10 to 12,000 per day of new cases. The other thing you have to look at is the test positivity rate. The latest test positivity rate is 21%. So we're testing at about 50 to 60,000 tests per day. 20% is like 1 in 5 get positive. So mataas, there are many cases turning out to be positive. We're lucky that in the Southeast Asian region, there are 5 to 10 times more than us. Malaysia and Thailand are actually reporting 10 times, 50,000, 12,000 per day. And our active cases are actually the lowest in Southeast Asian region. But I think we will catch up soon. As their curves begin to taper, ours is rising. So what is the Delta variant? The Delta variant is the newest variant of concern of the SARS-CoV-2 that is causing COVID-19. It is spreading rapidly around the world. It is more transmissible, mas nakakahawa, associated with different symptoms. No longer the anosmia, yung loss of smell. People are more likely to be hospitalized, twice more likely. And 1 dose of vaccination isn't enough. What is effective are 2 doses. So there are changes in the protein, in the spike protein that attaches to the cell, so it becomes stickier. And then it has another mutation that allows it to fuse into the cell and then reproduce. And then when that cell dies, it will spread millions of viruses inside your body. So the virus can latch and fuse easily, and that's the characteristic of the mutation that has made it become the predominant. And it can overwhelm our immune defenses. So now we're even having reports of increased cases in children. So the number 1 symptom in a study in the UK was just a sore throat, headache, and runny nose. So parang may sipon lang. Cough is rare, and so is the loss of sense of smell. And then more younger people are getting severe illness, so getting hospitalized. So the other problem here is that because of the symptoms above, yung sipon, headache, sore throat, with smell, they are thinking it's an ordinary cold. But actually, it's already the Delta variant of the COVID-19. So they don't isolate and they continue to spread the virus. So this is the increased hospitalizations they found in Delta, that the hospitalization rate is double. So should we be scared of Delta? Of course we should be scared of Delta because its reproductive number is 1:8. That means one infected person can infect as much as 8. Whereas the previous variant was only 2. One person can infect 2. So it's really more transmissible, and we can see the trends right now. In a few weeks, napuno ka agad ang mga hospital. So these are the curves we actually watch out. The idea here is the origin of where the cases are, mostly NCR. It was decreasing already past April in July, but then started to peak again. But all are now NCR, 4A, Region 3, and even Region 6 and Mindanao. The other thing we monitor is not only the new cases, but also the healthcare utilization. That's the HCUR. So ilang percent ng mga beds ang occupied. And when we peaked, we reached about 88-90% of the beds in the ICU were occupied. This was our experience when people were dying in the tents or in ambulances or were going home buying tanks. So that's what an 88% ICU bed admission rate. Usually kaming doctors, if it's 85% full ang hospital, may pila ka na sa ER. Ang tawag namin doon, access block. The good thing is our doctors and healthcare system is doing fine because the death rate has not increased. So pareho lang from last year. This was our curve last year in terms of case fatality rate of 2020, July, August of 2020. But we have not increased our fatality rate. So nag-peak tayo nitong April, and then we actually plateaued at 5,000. Ayan, no? 5,000 cases per day. And then sumipa yung Delta. Now, the Delta contributions did not come mainly from NCR. It came from different regions. Itong pula is the rest of Luzon. The yellow is Mindanao. The blue is Visayas. So as Metro Manila was going down, the rest of the regions were going up. Today, the healthcare utilization is, I think many hospitals have already declared that their ICUs are full. So many of the private hospitals are full, and you'd have to have difficulty already. I am seeing messages on my social media about people having difficulty to find a hospital bed. That's why the one hospital command has been set up. And these are the hotspot regions where cases have been going up. We don't have to bother with so much of the other data, but we are classifying regions based on risk. And the darker colors are those with high risk, meaning their healthcare system is about to be overwhelmed. That means puno na, di ba? Parang yung images na nakikita nyo na nasa labas at bangketa ng ospital. The other thing I'd like to talk about is really this face shield. In many countries, when Delta came, their recommendation was double masking and good ventilation. Tayo, luckily, since last year, we're one of the few countries that implemented the face shield. And I think if you ask me, why is it that Southeast Asia has very high numbers and we don't? I think the face shield had actually done its job in preventing transmission in the highly dense population area of Metro Manila. So let's go to the issue on the vaccination program. We have a vaccine plan that plans to recover our economy, and we want to make sure that everybody gets immunized, and we want to reduce hospitalization and deaths by giving most Filipinos their vaccine. So for 2021, this year, the idea is really to contain the spread of this virus. And when you contain it, there should be less mutation. We have reached this target of 3 million per week because we've already vaccinated 9 million last month, just in one month in July. And today we're already at 5 million. So that means we're just in the second week and entering the second week, and we've vaccinated 5 million. So So mukhang we're attaining this with the help of our mayors of NCR. And we do hope that by this ECQ, ma-achieve yung 50% of NCR vaccinated, of the adults. And then by the end of November, at least 70 million Filipinos are vaccinated. But the key here is really to be able to eliminate the COVID-19 or at least make it endemic or just like a ordinary flu with the vaccination program. And that will trigger our economic recovery. Actually, before this Delta, our economy was already recovering. In fact, the PSA reported an 11% increase of our GDP. But that came from a very low negative. So some people are still not believers. But I think we can recover as long as we are healthy. And hopefully, with the modernization of the health system, with the approval of things like a CDC, a Philippine CDC, Centers for Disease Control, a Virology Institute, and a vaccine facility, we can be able to fight the next pandemic and not be dependent on other countries for vaccines. Last January, we set up a big summit with the private sector who helped us standardize logistics and supply chain management, because we're one of the few countries that did a portfolio of seven vaccine brands. And the idea we did that is not for choice of the people, but to make sure that there is adequate supply so we can be vaccinating at the rate I described, which is about 10 million a month. So the private sector has been a big partner in procurement of the vaccines, in administration, in the communication, the risk and crisis communication, and data analytics. So there is a shortfall globally of the vaccines. All the manufacturers can only produce 5.8 billion vaccines. So the total population is 7.8. So we have a 2 billion shortfall actually. So and then this 5.8 billion vaccines were actually bought up by many countries. They bought 2, 3, 4, and even 6 times their population. So na-corner nila yan, and all of the middle income and low income countries are having problems with supply. So we found a way through a tripartite agreement. Ito yung ginawa nila Joey Concepcion with AstraZeneca. The other vaccine manufacturers do not agree to a tripartite. They only want to sell to the government. But Astra agreed, and eventually Moderna also followed. Then the LGUs also followed. So if the private sector bought, the LGUs are also buying. So ang dumating pa lang dito are those bought by the private sector, which is the AstraZeneca, which arrived last July. They signed in November. So their order only came, half of their order only came in July. So talagang may delay ng production. So ito yung signing ng Dose of Hope. That was the title of that tripartite agreement. And on the right side, Mr. Enrique Razon also did this with Moderna. So they ordered 7 million doses of Moderna. The government ordered 13. And these Moderna vaccines are now arriving. In fact, yesterday, Secretary Galvez and I were at the Nayong Pilipino, where there is a huge mega drive-through facility and vaccination facility, which can do up to 15,000 vaccinations per day eventually. So communications is an important part in making sure that people take the vaccine, and so that everyone can be protected and we can recover. So we divide poor, while the higher socioeconomic classes were covered by the private sector. But the celebrity endorsements have been very useful. This couple had this iconic picture. They were embracing each other with their vaccine sign and logo on their shoulder, and it was being copied by the other people who also get vaccinated. Instead of using orders, mandatory vaccination IDs, we introduced, the private sector introduced Bakuna benefits, which is about 90 establishments that would give discounts, free dessert, even gasoline stations. So this is a way in which the private sector has been helping us to vaccinate. Now there's talk about forcing employees to get vaccinated. It's a good idea, but the Department of Health and the government said, no, we cannot make it mandatory yet, as the vaccines are still what we call experimental phase 3 vaccines. So the private hospitals have also been helping out in the deployment or administration of the vaccines. But of course, this is a Red Cross activity, and I congratulate the Philippine Red Cross, which has been in the forefront of this pandemic since last year. Last year, they built all the molecular labs, so they actually do 25% of all our 50 to 60,000 tests per day. 25% of that is done by the molecular labs established by the Philippine Red Cross. And they also established the saliva PCR, which is less invasive than the nasal swab. So here are some of the things they've done since the Delta came. They've actually opened up their isolation facilities, and they have 2,000 patients currently admitted. There's a UP dormitory, Kamya, that they have about 1,000. And then, I'm sorry, I need to go back. I can't go back. Okay. So this is the vaccination center, the Bakuna Center along EDSA, and they've also established actually many Bakuna centers as well. They're also feeding the poor. So aside from vaccination, testing, isolation facility, the Red Cross is also doing soup kitchen or rolling kitchen, hot meals given to poor people who have no food in their homes. So these are the results of their vaccination center. The National Vaccine Operations Center has actually even asked the help of the Red Cross to help vaccinate 4A because it's not meeting its target. So we're trying to go and help them as well. So these are some of the efforts of government in the vaccination with the private sector. This is at SM Aura in Taguig City with Mayor Lino. They have a convention center there that was converted into a vaccine center, and they have also a vaccine bus that goes from barangay to barangay to make sure that everybody gets vaccinated. We've now reached 39 million doses. So this is an older slide, but we now have 39 million doses that have actually arrived, and I think today meron pa ring dadating na Gamaleya, so the second dose. So this is like the schedule of the Sinovac. So we have been able to provide steady supply of about 10 to 12 million vaccines per month. We need about 15 million vaccines per month to meet our target of 10 million vaccinations per month. So you know we have priorities, right? The priority people are the elderly, A2, and the senior and the persons with morbidity. Because if we vaccinate them, we will actually decrease hospitalization and deaths. And of course, we need to protect the health workers because if they all get sick, no one will take care of us. So this is our target. Now, most of you belong to A4. Now, the A4 is now also being injected, but we prioritize still the A2 and A3. We want to vaccinate all of them. But the A4, we are now, because of adequacy of supply, we're now getting to start to vaccinate the economic frontliners. It's now at 26 million. I think 12 million fully vaccinated and 11 million and 14 million partially vaccinated. So it's now 26 million Filipinos have gotten at least one shot. And we have the expansion areas. Of course, we're focusing on the highly urbanized areas so that we can control and contain this virus. So, and then we now have the other outbreak areas in the different countries. So these are the deliveries, about 30 million. And the results have been good as all countries are reporting they have less hospitalization and less deaths even when they have Delta. But the Delta needs to be addressed. And this is our target, at least by December. By November, we will have vaccinated 70 million people. But just being able to vaccinate 50 million people will already reduce our hospitalization and our deaths. And this is like our schedule. We will be opening up soon the general public, and they are discussing approving the vaccination of children. Pero ayaw pa because it might create so much demand and our supply isn't there yet. Maybe as our supplies get better, we can vaccinate the teenagers. So very important to also understand what I can contribute sa inyo sa workplace. And what they've found is that the Delta variant is airborne. And the key to preventing it is really the usual. Wear your mask, face shield, and improving ventilation. So the other thing we need to know is that we now report fleeting contact. Yung a few seconds ka lang nakaharap for the working group to actually do work from home if possible. And if you feel anything, any of the symptoms I described earlier, headache, fever, sore throat, runny nose, I suggest you stay home and probably observe and get tested. The last part I'd like to talk about is really the effect on our psychosocial illness, the mental health, which has already affected so many Filipinos, much more than the pandemic. Yung na-isolate, yung nawawalan ng trabaho, yung hindi alam kung saan kukuha ng pagkain para sa pamilya nila. And this psychosocial impact is very, very huge. The government rules, the strict government rules, the lockdown have been so much stress on the population. Plus, on media, and there's infodemic. Yesterday, there was this professor from UP, retired professor, saying that the virus is, the vaccines are dangerous and we shouldn't get vaccinated. So it's all very stressful and it adds to our psychological disease. And what I recommend before I end is really making sure that magkamustahan tayo. Make sure you talk to some people. Sometimes listening to your friend or your relatives, hinanaing is enough to do a psychological first aid. So some pictures of the vaccines as they arrive, millions of vaccines from COVAX, the AstraZeneca, the Sputnik. And lastly, this is really the whole big picture of where we are. We need to look at health or this pandemic through what we call social determinants. Hindi lang health problem ito. This has many frameworks and many elements, from economics to the physical people about health, to the food for the hungry, to community and social context, and a health system that is weak, we need to strengthen. And that will improve our health outcome. Ang dami pa natin gagawin. We need to work together in solidarity to improve our situation against COVID-19. With that, in summary, I've done a situationer of the global and national situation. I've discussed the Delta variant. I've discussed the National Vaccine Deployment Program, some tips for workplace and mental health support, psychosocial support, and also, of course, the importance of all the social determinants in the time of the pandemic. Maraming salamat, and I do hope may natutunan kayo sa aking short introduction. Back to you, Gwen and Lim.
Thank you very much, Secretary Yusek. I used to call you Yusek, Dr. Herbosa, for your very informative talk and for giving us, a lot of information that we need in order for us to understand, okay, what are we actually facing today. And I'm very happy to hear that we have done a lot already, no? However, you have also enumerated a long list of what we should be doing. And I think this long list of what we should be doing should not wait. We have to act, faster. We have to accelerate. And I think that should be the conversation also later on how we will do, how can we do more in order to accelerate all these things and really, work on our way to end the pandemic in the Philippines. Maraming salamat, Dr. Ted Herbosa. It's always a pleasure to listen to you. For me personally, I'm learning a lot, and I'm sure everyone is learning a lot from you. Maraming salamat. And we have a lot of questions to you already. Nasa chat box po, and mamaya bibigay po namin sa iyo. We'll call you in later during the open forum. Salamat, Dr. Herbosa. So, Alim, before we move to the next part of our program or the next topic, can you please do the honors of acknowledging, our friends and participants, the VIPs from the Philippine Red Cross.
Thank you very much, Director Gwen, and also thank you to Dr. Herbosa for a very insightful presentation. We also would like to acknowledge our distinguished guests from the Philippine Red Cross, the Secretary General of the PRC, Elizabeth Javalia. Thank you so much for joining us, Madam. Member of the Board of Governors, Presentacion Ramos. Dr. Christine Monina Nalupta, Director for the National Blood Services. Vanessa Lee Calixto, Director, Fund Generation and Business Development. Maria Teresa Bongiad, RCY Manager. Attorney Manga Yuro, a good friend of mine, the Legal Counsel of the Philippine Red Cross. And also some of our officials and colleagues from the PRC, Raymond Joseph Chan, Manager for the Special Events, Von Ryan Ong, Manager for Safety Services, and Mark Alvin Abrigo, Manager for Health Services. Back to you, Director Gwen. We're excited for the next speaker.
Thank you very much, Alim, for acknowledging, especially my colleagues, from the Philippine Red Cross. Maraming salamat. Okay, so the next topic, for this online forum is the national government's efforts, to address the impact of COVID-19 pandemic in the country, in the Philippines. Now, the number in the Philippines, we have reached, nabanggit ni Yusek Herbosa kanina, about 1.6 million cases already confirmed, 29,000 people, number of deaths. So talagang the number, is really increasing. And all four variants of concern in Philippines are just circulating around, and now we are facing with this which is the Delta, the impact or the effect of Delta variant. So we would like to actually hear more on, aside from what already has been mentioned by Dr. Herbosa. I am sure our next speaker will tell us more, not just about what the government is currently doing, but what else we can do actually, and what our other efforts, collective efforts in the fight against COVID-19. So, but let me introduce him. I know that all of you, here in this call, in this forum, is very familiar with him, you know him, but please give me the honors of and the time to introduce him. So let me begin by acknowledging that there is not enough introduction that will suffice to describe our speaker in his life's great achievements. So a dutiful son, a strong brother, a firm foundation of service and of volunteerism, a loving husband and father, and a visionary leader of many great beginnings, and transformation, a stronghold of hope. So yan po yung ating speaker, siya po yung ating next speaker. So his life started with an inspiration for leadership and passion to others, in order to provide service and then drive, to greater things. He has been blessed, with the great, to imbue values for public service and humanitarianism. His father being an honorable public servant in the government, and his mother who served also as public servant in the government, plus a Red Cross Grey Ladies and the chairperson of our Olongapo chapter, who later, actually inspired to be an exceptional and outstanding, leader of the Red Cross, society in the Philippines. So as a young person, he has already displayed great sense of leadership, being, a battering cheerleader to becoming a young Constitutional Convention delegate. He was afforded the honor to give oath of office to President Diosdado Macapagal in 1971. So to him, what the country needs is a change in men and not a change of men. He is a man who does subscribe to any form of mediocrity and lack of ambition. Ayaw niya nun. And he would say, bawal ang tanga, mas bawal ang tamad. And baliktad pala, bawal ang tamad, mas bawal ang tanga. So in a message delivered by many people, as we heard, during the start of this virtual forum, we heard so much, from many people who actually, thank him or in one way or another have encountered him. So maraming magandang nasabi about him. But I would like to quote, in a message delivered by his friend, a colleague in the government service, by Secretary Teodoro Locsin. He says, I know another man who was born to serve as much as he is made to lead. Henry Dunan's kindred spirit, hero of Olongapo, the savior of Subic. He transformed these cities obliterated by an earth-shattering volcanic eruption so strong it lowered the temperature of the planet by 2 degrees. He dug them out of the ashes and raised them to become models of peace, order, and progress. He vowed the world as tourism secretary with his Wow Philippines campaign, so which is very, very popular until today. As a legislator, he keeps on changing the country for the better. So our speaker has also proven that he is an overachiever and worthy of stature of a great statesman. His legislative record speaks for itself. He authored many major laws, a number of which aimed to dramatically transform the political and the economic landscape and creation of economic zones such as the Poro Point Free Port in La Union, the Free Port area of Bataan in Mariveles, and Camp John Hay in Baguio, all to jumpstart investment and development. Others dealt with long-standing problems such as the Veterans Equity Act, the Free Plant Law, National Disaster Risk Reduction Law, SSS benefits, and the Motorcycle Crime Prevention Act, among numerous others. So name every disaster, by the way, as you can think in your mind, and he is either was there or will be there, leading and rolling up his sleeves to make sure that, to give aid, that aid will come to those who will need the most in this in time of emergency or disasters. So he wades, into water, conquers the night call for help, and makes himself readily available to anyone who needs his service. I think you have heard that, in the videos that we're playing. Di po yun scripted, lahat po yun ay talagang sinabi about him. So he led the Philippine Red Cross to be the most sought-after humanitarian organization in the country and the world today. Also, let me quote Senator Ralph Recto once shared that he has never, our speaker, never get tired of telling, the Senator Ralph Recto, by the way, never gets tired of telling people and his friends that when it comes to disaster, the government should listen to a man who has spent his entire life giving comfort and aid to people affected by calamities. The man with full display of courage, compassion, like that when the Pinatubo erupted. And he was referring to our speaker. So he's a man who runs towards danger while others runs away, all for saving lives. His sacrifices for the people and his country comes with saving people. And he says that the hard way is always the best way. Yan po laging sinasabi ng ating speaker. So during this most difficult time in our country, this pandemic time, our country and our people, was able to have more access to COVID-19 services such as the testing, nabanggit kanina ni Dr. Herbosa, the isolation and treatment services, which the Philippine Red Cross has put up. So this is aside from the numerous services the Philippine Red Cross provides the government, like vaccination, public education, and volunteer mobilization. So also he never sleeps, no? Kung kilala nyo siya, because what he has, he's unstoppable. Whatever we have, whatever problems, presented to him, he will always come with solution. This man never runs out of solution. So thanks to his unstoppable and limitless commitment, in order to fight, and put an end to the pandemic in the country. So friends, a lawyer by profession, a health advocate, and at various times a broadcaster, a businessman, a lecturer, a great leader of our country. So please, I would like you to join me in welcoming our speaker. Please join me in welcoming Honorable Richard Dick Gordon, Senator of the Republic of the Philippines, Chairman and CEO of the Philippine Red Cross. Sir, good afternoon, our boss. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Gwen, for that very kilometric introduction. Anyway, thank you very much.
Sorry, but I really have to say it, sir, because you really did a lot for our country. Forgive me for that, but I think kulang pa yun, kulang pa. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, and I'd like to greet everybody here today, the leaders of the PESAs, certainly Dr. Herbosa, who preceded me, my very dear friend, Brigadier General Charito Plaza, a good friend of my wife, the Director General of the PESA, the Deputy Director General for Policy and Planning, Tereso Panga, Director General for Finance, Mr. Yusinko, and of course, ang ating Director General for Operations of the Administrations in Cavite, Attorney Norma Tanyag, Baguio City Economic Zone Administrator, which is one of the more successful ones, Ross Vincent C., the Mactan Economic Zone, Attorney Abdullah Alenkang Alug, Panga Executive Ecozone OIC DCA Engineer April Joy Medico, of course the Chief of Staff Farah B. Pagarang, and many others, including of course some of my good friends who are here, the President and CEO of the IT and Business Processing Association of the Philippines, Ray Ontal, Mr. Dan La Chica, Semiconductor and Electronics Industries of the Philippines, a partner of the Red Cross as well, Confederation of Wearables Exporters of the Philippines, Marites Agoncillo, Executive Director, the PESA Association, Francisco Saldariaga, I think he's the same guy who's trying to invite me to the Rotary Club sometime next month or this month, the Philippine Association of Multinational Companies, Miss Celeste Ilagan, the Federation of Economic Zone Service Providers, Mr. Ferdinand Ferrer, and certainly my colleagues in the Red Cross, specifically the Secretary General Lisa Zavalio, Presi Ramos, owner of the National Bookstore, and Board of Governors of the Red Cross, Monina Nalupta, who is our queen of, in terms of blood letting in the Philippines, my protege Vanessa Lee Calixto, in charge of distribution of Moderna and other vaccines, the head of the regional, youth committee of the Red Cross, Maria Teresa Bongiat from Bicol, and of course Maria, Mark Abrigo, guy in charge of putting out extension hospitals all over the country. My fellow citizens, certainly I would like to greet the co-host of Mr. Alim Sadiki Giyapao. A very pleasant good afternoon to all of you. And of course, my very dear friend, Gwendolyn Pan. Mabuhay kayong lahat. Tayo po ay nagpupulong ngayon na napakaganda ng inyong topic. Ang topic ninyo ay online nationwide. Online, that means we're modern. Nationwide, buong Pilipinas, wala nang imposible. There are no more borders on vaccination and most importantly, reviving the economy. Gusto kong sabihin, reviving the country. The economy is only one parcel of the country. Kaya dapat talaga, when we think, dapat ang rule natin is baguhin ang ating bansa. Don't leave it to the leaders, especially sometimes we tend to elect those that should not be elected in our country, and we're about to come up with another experiment, and I hope that you will not again run the risk of seriously losing our character, our future, by electing what Lee Kuan Yew refers to as jokers, cracks, weak men, charlatans, people who are not qualified for the position, but try to elect the best and the brightest, the most apt and the most capable of people, and not be somebody who will only choose what you perceive are winners long before the elections, and shut your ears towards the debates that must be forthcoming so that we would know, as I always say, better to know where we're going and not know how than to know how we're going and not know where. Today, we are again in a crisis, and this is a crisis-ridden society. If it's not COVID, it's typhoons. We just said some. A lot of rain. Sometimes a very, very dry season that creates a lot of hunger for our people. Earthquakes, volcanoes. You have a cacophony as well as a smorgasbord of disasters. And as if it was not enough, we have not produced after 75 years. And we've been modern already, even before the war. We have not produced one of the best countries that has not achieved its best so far. I'd like to speak and start from our neighbor, the Japanese. Sometime in the 1800s, the late 1800s, when they let go of the prison called the Tokugawa Shogunate, where Japan was closed down, pinara nila sa buong mundo, wala silang pinapasok, nilalaga nila yung mga pare, yung mga pride na pumasok sa Japan, at pinagbawal nilang pumasok ang mga banyaga. Until Commodore Perry forced the opening of Japan, and by 1873, nag-umpisa yung tinatawag nilang Meiji Restoration. And in less than 40 years, country na nakasuot ng kimono, na ang suit nila palagi ay mga samurai swords. They didn't have modern farming. They didn't have railroads. They didn't have banks. They didn't have communications. They didn't have modern factories. But in less than 40 years, in 1905, became a world power with their battleships and with their strategy, and by learning from others, they sunk. Pinalubog nila yung buong fleet ng Russia, and in the process, the Battle of Tsushima, and in the process, natanggal yung Tsar, nagkaroon ng Communist Revolution in Russia, and umatras ang Russia sa World War I, and certainly, they changed the world. Again, they changed it again in World War II. Kinuha nila ang China. Sila, kumbaga, nung araw, ang Japan ang nagbimistulang China sa mga kapanahon na ngayon. Ganoon rin naman ngayon na kinuha nila ang China at nagkaroon tayo ng World War II. Nabomba sila ng nuclear bomb, the first nation to be bombed by 2 atomic bombs. And yet, after 20 years, they hosted the Olympics. And after a little bit more than that, they challenged, Japan Incorporated challenged America, which like China today, ay napipintong aabutan raw ang ekonomiya ng mga Amerikano. You can talk about other countries like Korea, na pinadalan pa natin ng tropa ng Korean War. O yung Taiwan. Noong araw, pinagdadasal namin ng mga bata kami na binobomba ng China yung Kemoy Matsu in the 50s. Lahat yan napag-iwanan tayo. And today, our country has become Asia's used to be, instead of being Asia's number one. So today, I'd like to prefer to talk about not just our government plan in terms of us exiting from the COVID. You have already heard my good friend Teddy Herbosa talk about the plans. Maraming totoo doon, marami rin kulang. So bato-bato sa langit, tamaan, huwag magagalit. Although of course, always look at not the intent but the capability. As in war, with your neighbors, dapat titingnan nyo ang intention ng kalaban ninyo. Hindi lang yun, muna siyang capability. At meron tayong capability, pero nagagawa ba yung sinasabi natin gawin? Nangungulelat pa rin tayo sa pandemic. Kaya kailangan lahat magsama-sama. I'm not raining on the parade of Teddy Herbosa, who happens to be my fraternity brothers. But let me just say na sa nakikita ko, medyo nahuli tayo sa pagbili ng bakuna. And by hook or by crook, dapat from the very beginning, nagbabasa ang ating mga leader at ang inyong abang lingkod ay hindi nahuhuli dyan sapagkat nung araw pa kasama ko si Dr. Susie Pineda Mercado, si Laguan Pang. Binasa ko itong librong The Great Influenza. Kaya nga sinasabi ko sa mga anak ko at sa lahat, he who reads, leads. Ito ang naging first pandemic in the modern days na nagkaroon halos ng 50 to 100 million people who died of what they then called influenza, but really the same thing. Earlier versions of the COVID, if you will, and they never had an immunization program at that time. It just died a natural death, napagod. So today, nakikita ko ngayon ay talagang dapat bilisan natin ang pagbabakuna. And nung makita ko na nung umpisa, nakita natin na ang testing ng RITM dahil masyadong nangayaya sa tulong ng ating gobyerno. Yung RITM ang talagang nangangasiwa. Yun ang parang ating National Center for Disease Control. ay ang testing nila di mano. Ang nakita ko, gumagawa lang sila 200 to 300 tests. And I will give credit where credit is due. I looked around and I saw the Chinese were very fast. So kinausap ko si Guan Pang na maghanap ng mga makina na ginagamit nila doon. And we got the first PCR machines in the country. We started with 4. And now we have over 70 of these machines all over the country capable of doing 70,000 tests a day. Pero hindi nagagamit lahat. At ngayon, meron tayong 13 makina all over the country, from Isabela to Clark to Subic to Metro Manila to Pasig in Iloilo, in the island of Panay, to Cagayan de Oro, to Zamboanga, to Surigao, to Bacolod, to Cebu, Batangas, kompleto tayo. And soon, this month, we're going to be inaugurating number 14 na laboratory doon sa barn, sa bayan ng ating mga kapatid na mga Muslim. At susunod na dyan ang Bicol, susunod din dyan ang Leyte, ang Eastern Visayas, at siguro magdadagdag tayo sa General Santos para kompleto-kompleto ang SWOT ng ating testing. Paano mo malalaman na naubos ang COVID kung hindi ka magte-test? At paano mo malalaman kung nagkaroon ka ng COVID kung hindi ka magte-test? Kung ako na mismo na karoon na ng bakuna ng AstraZeneca ay biglang nangihina ako na basin ko, ay alisto naman tayo. Yung mga doktor ko rin alisto sa Red Cross, pinaswab ka agad ako at nakita na ako na nabakunahan na. Ay malimit ko sinasabi, kahit na kayo nabakunahan na, magpapatest pa rin kayo sapagkat nagkaroon ako ng COVID. At ako ay nadala sa Makati Medical Center na inalagaan ako ng kaklase ko na si Dr. Alimurong at maraming doktor doon at hindi ako pinapalabas. Hanggang ngayon naka-quarantine pa ako. Nasa labas na ako, nasa bahay na ako, hindi pa rin ako makapagtrabaho, pero nagtatrabaho ako sa bahay. Make a long story short, this is a dangerous disease. And testing is important. And important yung protocols, tulad ng turo-turo sa atin. I have 2 hands, the left and the right. You know, you have to wash them softly, 1, 2, 3, tinuro sa atin niya. At yung tinatawag natin, mag-mask tayo. Pag-uubo, gamitin mo yung panyo. Ganun rin dito sa disease na ito, mag-mask tayo. At huwag tayo masyadong dumidikit, lalo na doon sa mga umuubo, baka may TB. Ito, huwag kang didikit, lalayo ka na hanggang 1.5 to 2 meters away. Lalo na yung COVID variant, nakakatakot yon. Nasa air yon. Dapat mayroong ventilation yung ating mga bahay. And more than that, nakaligtas ka na doon, baka hindi ka makalusot kahit na ikaw ay nagtetest ka na, ay kailangan magte-trace ka. Kaya ako, ang dami-daming tinrace na tao nung ako ay magkaroon. At nalaman ko na ako ay tinamaan ng beta variant, hindi yung delta. At kailangan mag-isolate at pagkatapos mag-vaccinate. Yan ang pinakadulo. Pag nag-vaccinate ka, lusot ka na, hindi pa rin. Baka tamaan ka pa rin. So ngayon, ang unang problema natin dito, bago tayo makalabas, hindi pa rin nabanggit ni Ted ng konti, pero babanggitin ko, ang mga malalaking bansa, mayayaman, sobra-sobra silang bumili. Tulad ng Amerika, tinatawagan ko ang Amerika, yung sobra nyo AstraZeneca, ipamahagi nyo sa buong mundo. And I think they're doing that. At the same time, bibili pa sila ngayon at bibigay sila ng ikatlong shot, tinatawag ng booster, pero pareho yan. Israel will buy a 3rd shot. So that means, nakapila na naman tayo sa huli dahil hindi tayo nakabili. Ang dami nating perang nawawala sa korupsyon, yan ang dapat nating inuna, katulad ng edukasyon, katulad ng health, katulad ng ating poverty, katulad ng ating mga kakulungan sa bayan. Kung maalis yung korupsyon, marami tayong magagawang hospital. Madadagdagan natin yung PGH, hindi lang sa Manila, na nasa pasilyo na, sabi ng graduating speaker isang araw. At nakikita nyo na dapat sa Quezon City, may UP, sa UP Los Baños, doon sa Cebu, doon sa Iloilo, doon sa Eastern Visayas, dapat may PGH. At magkaroon tayo sa Cagayan de Oro, meron rin PGH, meron din sa Davao. At kung marami tayong ganyan, ang graduating doctors natin na 2,600 lamang isang taon, hindi pa kasama ang PGH doon, hindi kasama na yung lahat. ay ang mangyayari, madadagdagan ang doktor natin na humigit kumulang na nasa 40,000 na hindi naman lahat nagpa-practice ng medisina. At ang nangyayari, kulang na kulang tayo pati sa mga nurses. Papagraduate tayo ang production line ng mga nurses na pinapadala natin abroad. Bakit? Sapagkat ng bansa natin ay hindi pinagdaan ng ating bansa katulad ng Japan, ng Taiwan, at ng Hong Kong at ng Korea. We find our future in foreign shores rather than find our future in our own native Filipinas. And so, hirap tayo. Our healthcare is broken. Our security is broken. Peace and order is broken. And I'm not blaming anybody. I'm blaming ourselves because we keep electing the wrong people. Nagkakamali ba tayo? 6 na ang bar-top na presidente ang hinalal natin magmula nung lumaya tayo sa Amerikano. Nanguha na tayo ng mga byuda at ng anak niya. Nanguha na tayo ng artista. Muntik pa tayo magkaroon ng pangalawang artista. At ngayon napipinto, meron na naman papasok na artista. Mag-ingat naman tayo. Sabagat, ang mangyayari sa atin, if we keep electing people who are na talagang nagugulat tayo at napapasyal tayo nito mga survey na hindi pa naman natin alam kung sino mananalo, pero para bang may pusta ang tao na naku, huwag na natin consider yan, ay hindi mananalo yan dahil wala sa survey. Yung survey ay binabayaran at naandyan ang mga tao na talagang kilala na, boksingero, 2 boksingero natin tumatakbo, at mayroon tayong mga tumatakbong isang artista, maaari rin mga dating mga pulis. Dapat dagdagan natin ang field para makita natin kung sino talaga ang most apt and most qualified by reason of integrity, by reason of their capabilities. At somebody, finally, who must make us proud and be respected. And so today, I will say this. Bago tayo umasenso, kailangan labanan natin ang COVID. Katulad nga na sabi ko, namili kami ng maraming molecular laboratory. At ngayon, number 1 ang Red Cross sa testing. 3.8 billion, halos 4 million na ang na-test natin at nabuti na dagdagan na yan ang 270 labs at kailangan dagdagan natin ang testing. Naglagay tayo ng molecular laboratory, naglagay tayo ng COVID ambulances, naglagay tayo ng mga field hospitals, naglagay tayo ng mga isolation wards para yung mga tao mailipat at yung mga tao na nandun, ibigyan natin ng pagkain yung pamilya para hindi sila malalabas at hindi sila makakapangahawa. At makikita natin na bukod dyan ay naglagay tayo ng mga tinatawag nating negative pressure ambulances para hindi naman mahawa yung ating mga tao. So today, ayan yung field hospital ng Red Cross sa Lang Center at yung nasa NKTI, puno palagi. At nakikita nyo lahat ginagawa natin, pati bakuna na ngayon, pati yung tinatawag nating COVID plasma ay ginagawa natin. Marami rin nabuhay yon. At meron rin tayong tinatawag na mga tent na pinapadala natin sa mga ospital. Doon sa NKTI, punong-puno. Kanina, bago kami nagpunta rito, maglalagay kami sa Cagayan, maglalagay kami sa Bicol, maglalagay kami sa Cagayan de Oro, sa Cagayan Norte, at sa Bacoor, at saka sa iba't ibang lugar. We will provide access to everyone. The problem is, walang vaccine. And I told Secretary Herbosa, Undersecretary Herbosa, na dapat sabihin niya sa gobyerno na yung vaccine hindi lang para sa local government. Ngunit katulad nung dati, ginamit nila ang Red Cross sa pagbabakuna sa polio, nung bumalik ang polio. Natulungan naman ng Red Cross yung vaccine na ikalat sa tinatawag natin mga may polio. Makikita nyo, nakakabayo, nakabangka yung mga volunteer ng Red Cross, nagbabakuna. At nabakunahan 1.2 million patients at umabot sa mga bundok, umabot sa mga nakabangka, nakakabayo, naglalakad sa mga kalayunan natin, malalayong kalayunan. Kaya yan ang mga ating iniingatan. So in the meantime, as we start battling this COVID, and it will take a while before we're able to have more tests. We have almost 4 million tests. Nagdadagdag tayo ng vaccine clinics. Ngayon lang, magdadagdag tayo ng 9 buses na mobile clinics para umabot sa mga barangay at mabakunahan yung mga senior citizen na natatakot, paparado na lang yan, at babakunahan natin yung mga tao. Again, ang kakulangan ay vaccine. Nasabi sa atin ng gobyerno, marami tayong vaccines, pero ikinakalat sa local government, tama lang yon. Pero magbigay naman sana sila sa Red Cross dahil gusto rin namin tumulong dahil mas mabilis, makakabilis tayo dahil tayo dinadala natin ang bakuna sa mga tao at hindi pipila yung matatanda at gusto rin natin na mabilisan ang paggaling ng ating mga kababayan. So having said all that, what do we need to do to get out of our country? When you start looking at the problems of our country, look at our education. Bali-bali rin yan. Ang reading comprehension examination ng ating mga kabataan ay tayo ang pinakamababa. O isa sa pinakamababa. If not second to the last, the last. Ang poverty natin, grabe pa rin. And of course, ang ating external security, yung internal security natin, pinakamahaba na bakbakan na nangyari sa Mindanao. Ang haba-haba sa buong Asia tayo ang pinakamahaba, hindi pa rin masolve. Nadagdagan pa rin natin. Nung pinaalis ang Subic, ang sabi ko sa mga magagaling na senador, pag pinaalis niya yan, our Air Force will become all air and no force, and our Navy will become all coast and no guard. Kaya yan, asagasaan yung barko natin ng China, wala tayong magawa. At sasabihin pa ng presidente natin, hindi naman natin kaya makipag-away yan, hindi naman natin sinasabi makipag-away, pero dapat panindigan natin and be proud of our country because we are known to have fought foreign invaders. In fact, nagpatayo nga ako ng Lapu-Lapu Monument sa Luneta sa pagiging ng Korea. Binigay ng Korea na nakalagay doon sa Mandulupig, di ka pasisiil. Yun ang tinatawag natin the Sentinel of Freedom of Asia, katulad ng magbigay ng France sa New York ang Statue of Liberty. Meron rin tayong icon na Sentinel of Freedom in Asia, si Lapu-Lapu. At magkasama yung warrior Lapu-Lapu at saka yung intellectual na sa Rizal, both heroes in the National Park. Bilang nyo, hinarang pa yan. Ayaw pa nila palagay sa akin ng araw yan. Secretary of Tourism, nagalit ako sa kanila. Sabi, hindi raw sila Lapu-Lapu yan. Ang sabi ko, bakit? May litrato ka ba ni Jesus Christ? Ang sinabi ko, that is just a symbolic version of what we need to do. In terms of our health, napakalaki rin ang problema natin. Sinabi ko na, kulang ang doktor natin. Kulang ang mga nurses natin. And marami nga tayo mga doktor na pupunta abroad, nagiging nurse dahil mas malaki ang kita. And of course, nakita ninyo na umaangal ngayon ng mga nurses. Kausap ko sila kahapon na hindi pa binabayaran yung mga private nurses ng kanilang mga health hazards at saka yung tawag na transportation allowance. Kaya bubuksan ko yung Blue Ribbon on Wednesday just to ask the Department of Health why they cannot spend the 69 billion that was given to them at nawalan pa yung mga expired medicine. I do not want to fix the blame. I just want to fix the problem. And to make sure that we do that, they have to answer to our countrymen on why we're not able to do what we're supposed to do. At dyan yung makikita na tayo, in terms of corruption, tinanong ko na isang araw, ako yung nasa Judicial Bar Council, for an example, tinanong ko yung Justice Chief ng Sandigan Bayan, na ba nakulong nyo? Ang binanggit niya ay yung dalawang head ng immigration, yung pinakamataas na napakulong nila, at yung isang colonel ng police. Ang sabi ko sa kanya, alam mo ba kung saan niya nakuha yung ebidensya? Nakuha niya yan sa Blue Ribbon Committee sapagkat kinuha ko yung TV camera at nakuha ko yung mga yan na naglalabas ng 50 million pesos na binigay sila bilang suhol at yan ang ginamit nyo. Ibig sabihin, our judicial system is broken, extrajudicial killings are rampant. I have had to come up with a motorcycle crime law at nakita niyo na isang araw, kahapon nakita ko hanggang ngayon, 8 taon na hindi pa lumalabas yung bagong plaka, kaya kaliwat kanan for the last 6 years, 6,000 people have been killed by riding in tandem. At kung hindi natin babaguhin yung plaka at pinabago ko, niyari pa ako. Sabi, 2 plakang ginagawa ko, doble plaka. Isa lang po yun. Isa sa likod para makikita kahit na madilim. Ayan ang magiging plaka sa likod. Hindi naman ganun kalaki. Pero makikita naman ninyo, kung di ba tayo magpaplaka ng ganyan, makikita nyo yung mga binabaril sa ating bayan. Halimbawa, ito nangyari sa Isabela.
Ito, lumalabas yung sasakyan kasama mag-anak, broad daylight, United Nations Day, at nilapitan ng mga papatay na tao, minashing gun yung sasakyan, at talagang inubos yung bala doon, at nagtakbo yung mga tao sa likod. Akala nila napatay nila, tumakbo sila, umalis na sila, pagkatapos ubusin ang kanilang clip, walang tigil, at nung tapos na, umalis, at di na alam, nakaligtas yung tatlo, gumapang sa likod, hinabol pa. Alala na, nakalusot sila, hinabol pa ng mga papatay. Ayan, pinutukan pa ng pinutukan doon sa likod ng mga bakuran, naghabulan pa sa likod, at halos 1 minuto bago lumabas yan. At after 1 minute, nakikita nyo, broad daylight, ang daming tricycle, may mga jeep na dumadaan, may mga kotse, lalabas sila, alala na tepok na nila, at yan, lalabas bigla yung tao dito sa pinto sa may harap ng tricycle, yun na, lalabas at pagkatapos dumaan ng kotse, dumaan ng motorsiklo, sasakay sa motorsiklo na walang plaka, at pagsakay sa plaka sa sakyan, nakalabas na, nadaan ng palanchak. So nakita nyo, ganyan ang impunity. Pero pa yung sinasabi ko na binabaril yung mga matatanda kasama anak, harap-harapan ng kapulisan. Hindi mapagkatiwalaan. Pero ito lalong masakit. Ito yung barangay tanod lang ito. Nilalang ko dahil ang sweldo niya, wala pa 500. Dinaanan ng tricycle, ng motorsiklo, pinagbabaril. Ayan, tulang tigil. Ayan, bumaksak. Baril ng baril. Baril ng baril. Baril ng baril. Siguro inubos yung clip. Tapos, nang magsawa na siya sa kabubutok, inilipat yung kanang kamay, yung baril at binaril naman yung kasama ng tao yun, tumatakbo, binabaril nila yun, nakatakas yun, at wala rin nahuli dyan sa mga taong yan. So, we have to fix the problems of this country because para tayo umunlad, para tayo makakuha ng investments, kailangan gawin natin ang paraan. We have to clean up the atmosphere. We have to heal our sick country. Of our educational malay, of our health malay, of our peace and order malay, of our security, of our corruption, para we can be a predictable, consistent, rule of law country na makikita natin, magagawa natin yung dapat gawin. And when you start looking at our country again, nakikita nyo na hindi tayo papasukin ng ibang bansa sapagkat hindi naman tayo naghahanda. Kaya nga ako masama ang loob ko dahil nagawa ko yung Subic, nagawa ko yung Clark, ako naglabi dyan. Kami ang nag-volunteer dyan, tapos ginawa ko yung Mariveles. Naging malaking dumami ang trabaho sa Mariveles, nung matapos yan, 40,000 kaagad ang dumagdag. Sa Subic, walang hirap ang tao. Doon pa nagawa yung APEC, pinuntahan. We were proud as a country. Lahat ng mga presidente ng buong mundo nagpunta dyan. Hinirang sa Washington Post, Subic success. Sa New York Times, yung APEC nagpunta dyan. Wala bang 3 years or 4 years. Ang Subic sumikat, naging #1 tourism destination of the year. At makikita nyo dyan na talagang Subic Rising, the next Hong Kong. Pagkatapos nung nawalis tayo sa Subic, dahil pinulot ko yung sigarilyo ng isang magiging presidente, nagtalat doon sa Olongapo, nagalit, tinanggal ako. At makikita nyo naman ngayon, pagdating dyan, ay gumawa ko ng batas para magkaroon naman ng pakinabang yung gumagawa tayo ng infrastructure, hindi ba? Gaganda ng karsada, gaganda ng tulay. Nakalagay lang doon, this bridge was built by Congressman Buaya. This road was built by Mayor Swapang. At makikita nyo, sayang yung infrastructure. Tingnan niyo halimbawa ang ating pinagagawa at pinalabas doon sa batas, yung tinatawag kong Rich Bill. At dyan yung makikita, yung Central Luzon, ayan, may 3 airport, Subic, Clark, at saka Manila. 3 airport within 1.5 hour away from each other. Mas malapit pa yung airport kaysa sa New York, LaGuardia, at saka yung New York sa New Jersey. 3 seaport, Mariveles, at saka Manila, at saka Subic. At soon, another airport yung kay Ramon Ang. Ang ganda na ganda ng daan, NLEX, yung Olongapo-Gapan Highway, yung Esitex, hanggang Tiplex, maganda na ang daan. Pero magkabila, andyan lahat ang maraming mga lote at dapat gawan ng mga industriya, gawan ng mga bagong bahay para ma-decongest ang Manila para pag nagkaroon ng COVID, hindi sasabog ang sakit. At lalagyan natin ng infrastructure na mga bahay. At magkakaroon pa raw ng trend between Subic and Clark. Useless kung hindi natin gagawin na pagsasama-samahin natin yung mga infrastructure na yan para baka paghikayat ng negosyo at hindi ingunguso kung saan titira. Parang subdivision, mamimili yung mga tao kung saan sila titira. Kaya mabilis sa Calabar Zone. Nakabukod yung Calabar Zone. Dito kayo. Mabilis na sa Subic dahil binukod namin yung Taiwan Zone, yung Japanese Zone. Mabilis rin yung airport. Meron tayo kagad FedEx. At ang problema lang, nasayang dahil hindi tinuloy yung gusto natin gawin dahil pinaburan ng Presidente because of regulatory capture yung isang nagpapatakbo ng seaport sa Manila at ang nangyari ay gumawa nga ng seaport doon pero hindi na nagawa yung promise. Kaya kailangan pagawa natin yan. Magagawa natin yung pinakita ko sa inyo uli, yung mangyayari sa Subic na makakakuha tayo ng maraming investments. Magagawa natin yan sa Bacolod na may port, may airport, mga maraming eskwela, na maraming mga lupa. Magagawa natin sa Cebu na maganda rin yung port doon, marami rin lupa at marami rin airport at seaport. Magagawa natin sa Eastern Visayas yan. Makakagawa tayo ng train around Mindanao if you like. And we can connect everything and you can see that we can also build ships here in this country. And I go to a very important thing that I think the Japanese, and I learned from the Japanese, in 40 years, they were able to build their own battleships. They just bought some ships from other countries, and then they built their own battleships, and then they sunk the Russians in the Battle of Tsushima. Now, we can do that and connect our products from Mindanao to Manila na mas mabilis, hindi lang sa Trans-Nautical Highway, ngunit sa mga barko natin. At mapadala natin yung mga produkto ninyo sa ibang bansa. At kunin natin uli ang FedEx, ang UPS na nagsialis nung inalis na ako sa Subic at pati na yung DHL, konti-konti na lang at ang mangyayari ay talagang bibilis ang ating bayan. You know, ako ang prinsipyo ko sa ating pag-gobyerno ay dapat there are 5 F's. Number 1, you must be focused. Focus tayo sa development, focus tayo sa COVID, paano natin lalabanan. You must be fast, mabilis tayo. Hindi yung pagpipirma ng permit, mukhang malabo, penging pampalinaw. In other words, mabagal. And friendly, may kurakot, hindi mahusay yung nagbibigay ng permit. Focus, fast, friendly. You have to be flexible. Kailangan may flexibility ka na para pagka nakikita mong naiiwanan ka, dapat mag-a-adjust ka and you have to be forward-looking palagi. Titingnan mo kung ano ginagawa ng ibang bansa sa competition, the world of the internet. No, that's too late already. They're now going into so many things involving cyber, involving even outer space. So ladies and gentlemen, today I thought I'd share that with you. And again, share another thought from Lee Kuan Yew when he said, we couldn't be placated and settle for less. Doon nagsisimula siya. To settle personally for a way out was easy. You vote in jokers, cranks, weak men, charlatans with some gift of the gab, you run a very serious risk of losing everything you have. Your future really depends on what you make of it. The government can give you that framework, can give expression to the will of the people, but the people must have their will. If you don't have it, there's nothing our government can do. That is why ako, sinasabi ko hanggang ngayon, nakaposas pa yung utak natin. We cannot think for ourselves. Sabi ko palagi, yung sinasabi ni René Descartes, cogito ergo sum. I think, therefore I am. Dapat nag-iisip ang Pilipino. Kaya nung ginawa ko yung Subic, gumawa ko ng monumento para sa mga volunteer na tinatanggal yung piring sa kanilang mga mata. Yung mag-ama, yung mag-ina. At nakikita nyo dyan, nakapiring sila at tinitingnan na yung bandilang Pilipinas na 94 feet high for 94 years of sa ating bansa. At dahil doon, tinanggal nila yung piring. Galing sila sa Children of the Sun Returning. Kinuha ko sa national anthem yan. At lumakas sa Subic. And we also honor our people. Dapat mahal natin ang tao. Kaya yan, may monumento sila dyan. And bukod dyan, may monumento rin yung mga yan na nakalagay lahat ang pangalan na nag-volunteer doon sa Subic. Para sa ganon, there is a sense of ownership and pride for our people. Napakaganda ng park na ginawa natin yan. Bago ako tinanggal dyan,
isinuguro ko na lahat ng pangalan na nag-volunteer na andyan at pinupuntahan nila pag may namamatay, may dumarating galing sa ibang bansa, naglalagay sila ng bulaklak siya. Finally, I say, we must build, therefore, a bagong bayan. Yung sinabi niyo sa akin kanina na ang topic natin ay tinatawag natin na lalabas tayo sa kasalukuyan. A nationwide forum on vaccination and reviving the economy. To revive means to put back life into our minds, into our hearts. Kaya nga, pinili ko yung Rizal at saka Bagong Bayan, yung monumento niya na nilagay ko pati sila Lapu-Lapu doon. And I will end by sharing something with you, and I want you to think about it. And this is something I said when I built that Light and Sound show, kung paano tayo sinakop ang ating utak. We became a country of prayer and of song, dinadaan natin sa dasal, o yung tinatawag nating kundiman, na kundi ko man makuha, kakanta na lang ako. At yan yung makikita, yung kinata ko na yung Bagong Bayan, a new country, kung saan pinalaya si Raja Suleiman. At permit me to say it and paraphrase it also in Tagalog and English. Namatay si Rizal sa Bagong Bayan at bago siya si Gomez, Burgos, and Zamora. At bago doon si Suleiman na pinalayas nila Salcedo at Naligaspi. Bagong Bayan, the new country. Rizal never saw it. At tayo rin, hindi pa rin natin nakikita. But he meant for us to see it and to build it. And if it is to be, it must be up to us. Nasa sa atin yan. But have we changed our attitudes about ourselves and our country? Or are we still mired in our insecurities? Tinatawag natin palagi tayong masamang attitude and our envies. At yung gusto natin siguristan. Mauna ako palagi, hindi yung first for the common good. Bagong Bayan is not a place. It is an attitude. It is us, yung sinasabi ni Gwen kanina. What this country needs is not just a change of men, but a change in men. Pagbabago ng kalooban natin. We must define and draw a picture of what we must be. Yung mga anak nyo, drawingan nyo ng picture. Itong anak ko magiging doktor, and raise him like that. And he will be a doctor. He will be a lawyer. Or he will be a good man, which is more important. We must learn from Rizal. As we step out of these halls, yung hall na building na ginawa ko, nilagay ko na mas mataas yung sa walls ng Intramuros. Sapagkat ang sabi ko, yung wall ng Intramuros ay pagbabakod ng utak ng Pilipino para yung mga Indio hindi makita yung loob at hindi rin makita pag nasa loob sila yung labas ng bansa. We are now above the walls of oppression of our colonial past. Isipin nyo na doon na kayo sa taas. Nakikita nyo na yung dagat, nakikita nyo na yung golf course, nakikita nyo na lahat. The walls of victimization no longer exist. Yung ako'y anak dalita. Anak, hindi para sa iyo yan. Mahirap lang tayo. Naku, anak, imposible nating magawa yan. No more walls to block our vision of our great future. All of us can know where we're going and the world will step aside, as a wise man once said. It is time, ito, napakaganda nito, to become horizon chasers once again. Na kaya natin makapag-trade mga barko na dadalhin yung mga produkto nyo sa EPSA, na mga aeroplano na mabilis madadala yung mga produkto nyo in a focused, fast, friendly, flexible, and forward-looking manner. To have faith in ourselves, napakahalaga niyan, and in our fellow Filipinos. It is time for action, change, and solidarity. Let us be worthy of Rizal. And our new country. Bakit? May bago ba tayong country? Yes, nasa sa utak ninyo yan. Kung babaguhin nyo ang ating bansa. Kung gugustuhin nyo. Kung gusto, maraming paraan. Kung ayaw, maraming dahilan. Let us create a society that is enabled, ennobled, and free. Hindi yung pinapaasa tayo ng instant gratification ng ating mga leader. Madali yung mga botante. Barilin mo ng kwartamycin. O kaya bigyan mo ng gamot na peramycin. In other words, pinapaasa tayo. Hindi tayo enable sa magaling na edukasyon at hindi tayo ginagawang proud of our country. Let us build our Bagubayan around our hearts, around our souls. In the end, if it is to be, it must be up to us. Maraming salamat for this wonderful afternoon. I hope hindi ako nakapasubo sa mahabang talumpati. I just wanted to share with you some of my thoughts that has bothered me when I was sick in the hospital. And I say, may pag-asa pa ba? And the answer is yes. Pag-asa. That is us. Thank you very much and good afternoon.
Maraming salamat po, Senator of the Republic of the Philippines, Honorable Senator Richard D. Gordon. Sa ngalan po ng pamunuan ng PESA, sa aming butihing Director General Charito Ching Plaza, muli po ang aming taus-pusong pasasalamat. And very notably, Director Gwen, ang binanggit ni Senator Gordon kanina, kapag gusto natin ng development, merong paraan. And he also mentioned about the efforts of this forum. It should be not limited to reviving the economy, but reviving the country. And also, Director Gwen, if you may remember, in 2008, when I was still a student, Senator Gordon sent me to the Resource Alliance UK to train for the investment, to train for investment for specifically for Mindanao concerns. So I think that was 2008. Baka hindi na maalala ni Senator Gordon. Yes, Director Gwen.
I think I think we have to recognize really and appreciate the efforts of Senator Dick Gordon, because he staunchly fought for the welfare of the locators and the different investment promotion agencies during the recently deliberated creation of this law, the CREATE law. Sir, salamat po dyan. Marami pong natulungan. And currently, actually, he's advocating for the passage of the bill creating the regional infrastructure coordinating hub of the Central Luzon, which he mentioned earlier, the REACH bill. Thank you, sir. And also, si Chairman din, being in the Blue Ribbon Committee, the chairman of the Blue Ribbon Committee, he was the nemesis of errant officials who fearlessly conducted investigations. Siya lang talaga nakakapag ganon, no? Para hulihin tong mga ito, to uncover anomalies and hold erring officials accountable. So sir, marami pong salamat sa inyo. Marami po kayong natulungan dahil dito.
Thank you very much, Director Gwen. Again, yun yung takeaway natin sa presentation ni Senator Gordon. Kapag gusto natin ng pagbabago, merong paraan. And palagi pong pinabanggit sa amin ng aming Director General all the efforts of the good senators, especially during the hearing, the committee hearing, and also the plenary hearing on the CREATE bill. And we have here the locators. I think more than 800 of them, honorable senator, are present, joining us today at the Zoom, and the rest of them via YouTube and Facebook Live. So we reserve the questions later for the open forum. For the final speaker this afternoon, allow me, and it's an honor again, to introduce the final speaker, of course, the Director General of the Philippine Economic Zone Authority. She'll be talking about the PESA updates and COVID-19 measures. And one of the notable inputs and transformation shared to us by the Director General is really the support to the President's initiative in building eco-zones in the countryside. When she assumed post in 2016, she already convened Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao local government units. Katulad po ng sinabi ni Senator Gordon kanina, it's really the intent to revive the country, not just the economy. And recently, she also spearheaded convening the local government units in Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao, again, to strengthen the initiative of the country in our support to Administrative Order 18, reviving the eco-zones in the countryside. Our final speaker this afternoon is the embodiment of both beauty and brains. In September 2016, as mentioned, President Rodrigo Roa Duterte appointed her as the Director General of the Philippine Economic Zone Authority. From 1986 to 1998, she represented Agusan del Norte's 1st District in the Philippines House of Representatives. She is one of the authors of the Special Economic Zone Law that created PEZA in 1995, and also the principal author of Republic Act 7901, which created Caraga region, where she earned the name the Mother of Caraga. She is also known for her battle cry in reviving the economy and the country through her balancing act at the Philippine Economic Zone Authority. Added to her ranks, she is also a commissioned officer in the Armed Forces of the Philippines, Reserve Force holding the rank of Brigadier General. She was also the first female general in the AFP Reserve Force, the first female general in the Philippine Air Force, and the first female general coming from Mindanao. A seasoned leader with experience in Congress, in the military, and the local government unit, she recently convened LGUs, as mentioned earlier, to strengthen the countryside development program of PEZA in reviving the country economic development through EcoZone. With her leadership and management of PEZA, including her introduction of the PEZA Transformation Roadmap that will guide the vision and mission of PEZA in the next 25 years, the agency has earned recognitions and accolades from various national and international agencies, such as the International Finance Corporation World Bank, for recognizing PEZA for having the best practice among ecozones worldwide. The Philippine Statistics Authority reported that only PEZA registered year-on-year growth in foreign investment commitment during the July to September period, with 20.3 billion pesos up to 97% from 10.3 billion pesos last year. Lastly, the PCOO, under the Office of the President, award to PEZA with a special citation to government agencies amid the COVID-19 pandemic and the recent Freedom of Information Award for her Great Balancing Act. Ladies and gentlemen, the honorable senators, and our distinguished colleagues in government and public service, a woman of action, compassion, and leadership, allow me to proudly introduce our final speaker this afternoon regarding PEZA's Balancing Act and fight against COVID-19, Director General, Brigadier General Charito Ching Book Plaza.
Thank you very much, GM Alem Gapal. My recognition, of course, to our favorite Senator Richard Dick Gordon. And it's true, we've been good friends ever since we were together with his wife, then Congresswoman Gordon, in 3 Congresses of the Philippines. And of course, the governors of the Philippine Red Cross. We had Dr. Teodoro Herbosa speaking earlier. And my industry partners, Dr. Dan La Chica, we have Ray Ontal, Marites Agoncillo, Chito Saldarriaga, Celeste Ilagan, Ferdinand Ferrer, and others. My deputies, Director Generals, Teo Panga, Nori Tanyag, and JP Ushinko, my Pesan family, our friends in the Red Cross, ladies and gentlemen, magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat. I am indeed in awe of the good Senator Gordon's visions and wisdom of his experience. Senator Gordon has always been considered as PEZA's staunch supporter, not just in legislative matters, but also in economic concerns and issues. And most especially, we will be signing this afternoon the MOU, or the MOA, between PEZA and the Philippine National Red Cross to strengthen our partnership, especially in our disaster and calamity and other crisis conditions that may happen in the country. So we thus call Senator Gordon as the crisis and disaster management hero. So thank you for that, Senator Gordon. So I again would like to thank Senator Gordon and the Philippine Red Cross for co-organizing with PESA this event today to discuss important matters, the continuous vaccination of our countrymen and our ways to revive the Philippine economy. We are one with the government's efforts to obtain herd immunity through vaccination. And as a result, the full reopening of businesses and bring back our vibrant, thriving economy. We have witnessed the perilous impact of the COVID pandemic to our lives since the beginning of 2020, and we continue to grapple with its effects until now. Like everyone else, PESA and its ecozone operators and export enterprises, we are not spared from this pandemic. Yet, we continue to do our balancing acts, and I guess it is a perfect balancing act because we were able to continue and maintain the operations of 95 to 98% of our locator companies as we continue to protect the health, the jobs of our 1.6 million directly working in our 413 economic zones and 4,586 locator companies, while the domestic enterprises were locked down, were closed. It was, or we are, with our locator companies who are export-oriented companies, indeed maintain the jobs and help us to protect the health of our workers. So PESA is indeed always in the front line of trying to make the economy afloat. In fact, this is indeed a very challenging period, not just today that we are in this pandemic crisis. From the time I started to be the DG of PESA in the first year of the Duterte administration in 2016, we had a very, very good performance with investors and the Filipino people looking forward of a better and a good government. Unfortunately, when 2017 came in, the different legislative agenda of the economic team of the administration came into the picture. So from then on has created a lot of uncertainties to PESA and to our investors. Uncertainties because it worries us a lot that we might not be able to maintain the trust and confidence showed by our locators to PESA. And PESA being a self-reliant, self-sustaining, and resource-generating agency, we don't get any subsidy from the government. So we have to really work hard to keep our investors and continuously attract new investors. So with the based on the zone reports for the period of June 21 to 25 in 2021, PESA, or 90% of our registered enterprises from various sectors, 90 to 98%, has continued operations and complied in the global supply and demand. 84% of our IT BPO companies and 95% of our manufacturing enterprises have continued operations under various work arrangements. As of June 2021, the total COVID cases in the zones reached to 28,868 out of the 1.6 million workers, with 24,343 people already recovered. The total active cases remain at 3,870 with 116 mortalities. So it's a very small victims of COVID. No? This is because of the balancing acts and the business assistance and reprieves that PESA provided our locators and ecozone operators. So we implemented various balancing acts to provide assistance to our registered enterprises. These acts are our support as well to our workers in line with the Bayanihan Act and the creativity and resourcefulness of the PESA management. Such includes the allowance of 90% of the total annual revenue derived from the work-from-home arrangement and the inclusion of COVID-related expenses as deductibles for enterprises availing of the 5% GIE incentive. What does this mean? Other than increasing the 30% work-from-home ratio, we increased this to 90%. And PESA also required 50% of the workforce to be reporting in their company premises. So we call them the skeletal force, who we also ask our locators to provide vehicles, shuttle services, and the housing facilities. We are very strict in implementing the use of PPEs and encourage our locators and ecozone operators to continuously disinfect their premises. And all these COVID-related expenses, including the port charges that they have had when at the height of the pandemic, there was a stock of cargos, import and export cargos in our piers. So they have to pay additional port charges. So all of this, we allowed to have it deducted in their income taxes. So it's like we got the utmost cooperation of our locators and export or ecozone operators to keep our ecozones COVID-free. So these acts aim to protect not only the jobs and livelihood of our people, but also our companies. And with this, PESA was able to protect these jobs and livelihood of our workers in the 4,643 companies located in our 413 economic zones nationwide. On the vaccination program, PESA management succeeded in asking our the IATF that from B2 classification, our economic frontliners, the ecozone workers and industry workers should now belong to the A4 classification. So PESA lobbied that we will be part of the A4 vaccination priority list. So right now we are working hand in hand, not just with the IATF but also with the LGUs, where PESA employees and our ecozone and industry workers are now provided with free vaccines, courtesy of the IATF and the LGUs nationwide. So our registered companies can now submit their list of employees to PESA, and PESA will endorse this to the LGUs. Many LGUs, in fact, has provided PESA and our ecozone workers with a specific lane of their own, so they will not be mixed up with the community, the members of the LGUs and the communities. With the rollout of vaccines and the implementation of EcoZone vaccination program, the EcoZone industry can help contribute to the government's attainment of 70% herd immunity within the year and the country's full reopening of the economy and transition to the new normal. So these are some of the efforts that PESA management is doing to pay back our PESA locators and investors for giving jobs to our constituents, contributing to the social progress of the areas with low poverty and crime incidence. As to PESA's performance, PESA was able to finish strong in 2020 with a total of 95 billion pesos investments generated. And for the first half of 2021, PESA generated 32.057 billion pesos of investments, which is 8.52% higher compared to the same period in 2020. Meanwhile, the actual exports for the period of January to May 2021 amounted to 24.781 billion US dollars, with 1.6 million jobs created. Compared to the same period in 2020, PESA showcased a 23.35% growth for exports and an 8.58% increase in employment respectively. We are therefore very positive that we will be able to attain our target of 7% increase this year based on the strong foreign direct investment figures. And this is also possible with the gradual implementation of the CREATE law, where Senator Gordon, Senator Recto, and other stone supporters of PESA and our locator industries helped in crafting a much better CREATE law than expected. So looking forward, PESA is now on its full implementation of the transformation roadmap, which specifies the short, medium, and long-term plans of PESA, envisioning the Philippines to become an investment haven in Asia with economic zones of different types, which are also green, sustainable, and smart eco-zones, so we can attract different types of industries to be located in these different types of eco-zones. So we are designing these new eco-zones into townships. So we are starting the transformation in our 4 public zones that are now redesigned and transformed into townships where investors and workers will work, live, learn, and play. Of course, our positive performance is not possible without the help and support of our stakeholders, embodying the Bayanihan spirit and uniting for the sake of our country. PESA thus attained or received recognitions. So as we continue to do our job despite the crisis, these acts and PESA's continued brand of service have received recognitions from organizations locally and abroad. So this was mentioned that PESA was among the few agencies who was cited by the PCOO in its Freedom of Information Awards. We were cited a special citation because other than the DOH, the DSWD, it's only PESA who have also exemplified an untiring dedication and commitment to the Freedom of Information program, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic, by keeping its channels of information open and still attracts investors throughout the world. Meanwhile, the U.S. Department of State also, in its official 2020 investment climate statements, said that the business environment is notably better within the special economic zones, particularly those available for export businesses operated by PESA, which is known for its regulatory transparency, no red tape, and its one-stop shop services for investors. Even the Philippine Statistics Authority recognized that the 3 months to March saw the PEZA contributing the most in foreign investment pledges at 62.3% of the total, with 12.19 billion pesos export income. Partnership with Red Cross. So later, we will be signing a memorandum of understanding with the Philippine Red Cross, development of a disaster preparedness program to further safeguard the developers, locators, and workers in PEZA's economic zones. So this is also in line with our major program to keep the ecozones safe and secured, hoping to attract and make continue to enjoy the trust and confidence of our locators. So we are, PEZA is now to be declared a Philippine Air Force affiliated reserve unit, which will be signed by the President, which means that we will be training our PEZA employees and ecozone locators who are Filipinos, and our ecozone workers to be skilled, the military skills and the police skills. So with that, we can respond, everybody can respond actively in times of disaster, calamities, emergencies, in nation building, and even in war. So this partnership will also allow us to explore opportunities for joint cooperation in the enhancement of disaster risk reduction and preparedness, hand in hand with the Philippine Red Cross in all our PEZA ecozones. We have seen this impact of the pandemic in our lives, and we at the same time face other disasters like the unrestful activities of the Taal volcano, the various earthquakes, typhoons, and floods. So we must be able to train our people to become disaster and emergency responders to better equip us against man-made and natural disasters. Under the CREATE law, because this is part of our topic today, as we all know, we are adapting to the new normal brought by COVID, and we were also slapped by the changes under the CREATE law. We thank our legislators for finding or fighting alongside us and listening to the appeals of our enterprises. We are glad that CREATE sustained our argument that has placed a high premium on export-oriented enterprises with their availment of superior fiscal incentives, particularly for new projects that will be applied with the IPAs like PEZA. We are continuously coordinating with our industry partners for their concerns with the implementation of CREATE, like the concerns with the BIR, the RR 9-2021, which has now been suspended, and we continue to fight for the interest of our locators. So while this is being deferred, we are still continuously appealing to the FIRB or the DOF to automatically remove the BIRRR on VAT in the IRR of CREATE, because it is still there. No? Although we continue to grasp the change brought about by the CREATE law, we can still rejoice in the small wins that came with its implementation. Recently, it has been reported that the government is seen to extend the temporary work-from-home authority for IT-BPO economic zone locators, as well as the easing of locational restriction in the NCR based on the provisions included in the said legislation. And as such, the PEZA board has okayed the request of the PEZA management for the extension of the work-from-home arrangement until the end of 2022 and has now made a recommendation to the DTI and DOF to approve the said move. PESA has likewise written President Duterte to appeal for the lifting of the moratorium on ecozone development in Metro Manila by virtue of the CREATE law. By allowing establishment of ecozones in Metro Manila, we believe that this will also provide a recovery measure for our developers and support industries who are still reeling from the effects of this pandemic. Furthermore, this kind of consideration will more likely boost the confidence of our enterprises like the IT BPO companies to locate and expand in the Philippines, and will likewise improve the attractiveness of the country. PESA's transformation roadmap has 3 goals. One is to make the Philippines as an investment haven of Asia by fully industrializing the country, but it must be an environment-friendly industrialization. That's why we are promoting a green, healthy, sustainable, and smart economic zones. Another goal is to make the Philippines a production, manufacturing, and export-driven economy, and should minimize, if not eradicate, our now being an import and consumption-dependent economy. And lastly, PESA wants to transform the Filipino workers to become multi-knowledge, multi-skilled, and world-class workers. So in closing, let me aggressively pursue our investments, marketing, and promotion activities, and will in turn achieve our goal of a fully industrialized Philippines. So hand in hand, I am asking everyone to continue to promote our battle cry of thinking global and acting local. Thinking global because we want to make the Philippines as a major contributor to the global supply chain, but we have to act local, meaning we have to address what is lacking, what are those efficiency factors needed to promote investments, to promote the ease of doing business and lowering the cost of doing business in the country. And another battle cry that I want to share with our friends in the Red Cross, our industry partners, and for every Filipino to join us in this call or in this battle cry of Galing Pinas, Galing Pinas, which means made in the Philippines is the best and the Philippines is best to invest in. Maraming salamat.
Thank you very much, Madam Director General Ching Plaza, for an in-depth and astute information on PESA's update and COVID-19 measures. Ang galing, galing Pilipinas, galing Pilipinas. Ang galing talaga nung ano na yon, nung battle cry na yon, no? So indeed, this pandemic cannot stop PESA from performing its mandate to promote investments, generate exports, and create employment in the Philippines. At saka yung gustong-gusto ko po sa sinabi ni Director General Plaza kanina is the role that PESA is playing in ensuring investments in the special economic zones should continue in order to drive economic growth, employing and to protect the employments of the thousands of highly skilled workers. Not only that, including their protecting their safety and also health. Maraming salamat po sa inyo, Madam Director General Ching Plaza, and sa lahat ng bumubuo ng PESA. So there you have it, all the 3 high-level topics from 3 high-level esteemed speakers natin. Ang galing-galing talaga. So let us give all our resource person a virtual round of applause.
Thank you,
Yay.
Director
And you can
Gwen.
also click on the reaction. Meron po dyan yung hand clapping. Please do so, okay? Para we can express, our gratitude, to our resource speakers. Again, thank you very much.
Thank you, Director Gwen.
So, Alim.
If you see the flow of questions, medyo ang dami ng mga tanong. By our numbers today, we're close to 1,000 live attendees from our social network and also from our Zoom account. So it's time to raise our questions. We welcome everyone. Again, to remind our participants, kindly mention the name of your organization. You can actually rename in your Zoom account by typing your organization and then your name so we can acknowledge you. So yes, Director Gwen, would you like to start the first question for our speakers?
I would like to start the first question kasi ang daming question. There's so many questions posted on us on the chat box. And also we know that maybe some would like to actually do a live questioning later. Or maybe may some reflections or may suggestions. So please get ready with that. So we will first, I think, pick up questions from those who drop in their questions to the chat box, but we're still opening the floor, for live questions from the crowd. Okay, so let us start. The first question that was given to us, this is, I think, for Dr. Ted Herbosa as the advisor to the IATF. Dr. Ted, welcome back. Okay,
balik kami. Hi, Gwen.
Hi. Okay, so the first question is, I think you have mentioned this already in your talk earlier about the next priority will be the essential workers, no? Pero I think, but this is to expound more a bit on maybe finding solution, how we can accelerate that. So ito yung question. Many of our employees are willing to be vaccinated, but the problem is the allocation in the LGU. Some of them registered online 1 to 2 months ago, but still, until now, haven't received any schedule. Since EcoZone employees are considered as frontline workers or essential workers, no? Is there any plan po to have a vaccination site per EcoZone cluster? Also, the question is, other associates doesn't want to be vaccinated because of the side effects or symptoms after vaccination, because they know they cannot report to work if they have COVID-19 like symptoms. What is the best thing to do to reach our target of 100% vaccination of our company if, there are many flaws like that? So baka
Thank you, Gwen.
Dito. Yeah.
Very good questions, very important, and I think very difficult to answer. The first one is, bakit hindi natin bigyan na lahat ng employees, no, that have been waiting to be vaccinated and want to be vaccinated? And the reason for this is because of the low supply. Because the supplies come in trickles. Kita nyo, pag dumadating ang bakuna, 1 million doses, 500,000 doses. Tapos, kung minsan mainit pa yan, galing sa manufacturing plant, papa-pick up na sa China, and then i-deliver na sa Philippines. And this is the reason why prioritization. Kumbaga, alam ni Gwen to, pagka may mass casualty ka, kailangan meron kang triage. Yung triage, ipaprioritize mo yung kung sa kanino makakatulong talaga yung bakuna. So, pinili natin yung A1, A2, at A3 na priority. Yung A1, naka 95% na po. Yan yung mga doktor at nurse. Walang problema sa pagpapabakuna sa kanila. Ang pangalawang gusto nating mabakunahan ay yung mga senior citizen. Sapagkat, pag ikaw ay nagka-COVID, if you get COVID, your chance to die if you are a senior citizen is higher. Almost lahat ng ICU na may edad namamatay. So, kung maprotektahan natin sila with the vaccination, mababawasan yung figura nung namamatay na asa 30,000 na yata yung namatay na Pilipino. Pangatlo, yung may comorbidity, may diabetes, may high blood, may obesity, yan yung pinoprotektahan natin. And tayong mga A4, kayo, paramihan sa inyo will be considered A4. Luckily, nag-umpisa na tayo noong July ng A4. Pero siyempre sa LGU, and itong issue between PESA and LGU, nakita ko na to last year doon sa isolation. Kasi yung isolation facility, pinatatakbo ng LGU, hindi naman mapuntahan nung taga PESA. So nagkaroon kami ng importanteng usapan at coordination with the PESA authorities, Special Economic Zone, and the LGU para magka-accommodatean. Ito ang suggestion ko ngayon. I think the specific economic zone should have a coordination meeting with the LGUs para masama yung bilang ng bakuna na ina-allocate dun sa LGU. Kasi pag hindi binilang yung mga nagtatrabaho sa PESA, ay ang makukuha nilang bakuna ay yung bakuna lang na doon sa populasyon nila, yung mga botante nila doon sa LGU. So very important yung coordination. May slide ako niyan, di ba? Yung coordination and collaboration. Dapat mag-usap yung head ng PESA at yung LGU at doon nilan. Pwede rin naman tumulong kami, at tumataas ng kamay si Senator Gordon, pero pwede rin tumulong ang national para mabigay yung supply ng PESA. Yes, Senator.
Thank you, Ted. To me, the solution is the Red Cross would be very glad to bring our buses to the PESA by factory, and we will vaccinate. The question to Ted Herbosa is to make sure that he gets IATF to give us the vaccine so we can vaccinate PESA.
Tama si Senator Gordon. Actually, yung dati merong ginawa si Senator Gordon, di nyo alam. Kinausap niya si Secretary Duque at si Secretary Galvez. Sabi niya, hindi, kailangan bakunahan mo yung mga kamag-anak ng mga healthcare worker. Nangyari yun dahil sa request ni Senator Gordon, inausap niya si at nabigyan na ngayong prioridad pag ikaw ay nurse or doktor, yung kasama mo sa bahay, A1 na rin, priority na rin sa pagbabakuna. So, kaya ni Senator Gordon yan.
It's about the employees. We would be very glad to bring our buses in Cavite, for example, bring 6 buses there and start vaccinating until we finish and then move on to the next site. Ang kailangan ko,
supply.
Vaccine. Kundi susumbong kita kay Pacquiao. Vaccine gloves ang bibigay sa'yo.
Thank you. I think DG Plaza would like to also join in the discussion about this.
Actually, Gwen, Doc, and the Senator, PESA is already doing that. No, we are closely coordinating with the LGUs. In fact, many LGUs are providing a specific lane for PESA employees and EcoZone workers, no? So, yun po ang ginagawa namin. We gather the master list of the workers, of our locators, of our EcoZone operators, and of course the master list of the PESA employees. And then wherever is the LGU host of these economic zones, doon namin pinapasa. So, we are treated as priority. The PESA employees, for example, siguro mga 95% na po sa PESA employees are vaccinated. So we are now focusing on the vaccination of our locator workers. No? So pina-follow up namin yung kanilang mga master list, then pinapasa namin sa LGU. In fact, we have in our locator companies premises, no? They volunteered to make their premises as vaccination centers. Marami na pong mga EcoZone and locator companies who volunteered to have their premises be the vaccination centers in our economic zones. Nangyayari na po. Ang problem nga po, palaging kulang ang vaccines.
Thank you, Ma'am
So,
DG,
ang masasabi ko sa
Dr.
supply,
Herbosa.
nakita nyo, may pinakita ko slides. I think the next quarter, yung fourth quarter, dadami ang supply. Kasi yung mga daming in-order natin 40 million doses of Pfizer, parang 19 million doses of Moderna, magsisidatingan na siya. And I hope konting tiyaga na lang, magsuot pa rin tayo ng mask, mag-ingat tayo para hindi tayo magka-COVID. Yun muna, until dumating yung bulto-bulto ng supply. At ngayon, magbabakunahan tayo talagang 24/7 dyan sa mga working areas. Kasi ibang factory dyan sa PESA, 24/7. So, pwedeng gumawa hanggang gabi.
Yes, that's very good news, Secretary, Dr. Herbosa. And please don't forget PRC, syempre, no? PRC can help in the accompaniment of the vaccine to distribute and also to provide access. So, meron tayong phone-in question. May call tayo dito, phone-in Alim. I think maybe
Director Gwen, we can acknowledge a live question from ABS-CBN. Mr. Bruce Rodriguez, be online, please.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I think this question is for Director General Ching Plaza. Right now, of course, we're still in the thick of the lockdown of ECQ. How has this affected operations at PEZA zones? Also, do you think do you think you might need to maybe revisit some targets or some estimates for the year or moving forward in terms of growth in exports and employment? Because earlier you shared very good numbers, and hopefully this would continue. Thank you.
Yeah. Fortunately, Bruce, PESA has maintained its operations, the operations of its locator companies from 95% to 98%. Why? Because from the very beginning of the pandemic, we were already supported by the IATF, by the government, that export companies should be unhampered. The movement of the cargoes, the movement of our personnel should be unhampered. Kaya tuloy-tuloy yung ating export activities. Unlike the domestic enterprises who are mostly closed because of the LGU lockdowns. So we enjoyed that preference, should I say it preference, by the IATF na dapat ang mga export-oriented companies should not be closed, but the cargos, the movement of the personnel should be unhampered. Kaya continuous yung aming growth despite the pandemic. Plus our very aggressive marketing and promotion activities like what we are doing now. Every month, meron kaming global biz with PESA for every country investors. So with the help of the foreign embassies, the ambassadors, foreign ambassadors in the Philippines and the Philippine ambassadors abroad, sila yung nag-gather ng mga investors of a specific country every month to join in our investors forum. So continuous pa rin kami because as I have said, we took advantage of the opportunities created by COVID, by the pandemic. Humanity has to survive. So it doesn't mean na dahil nasa pandemic tayo, naka-lockdown tayo, matutulog din tayo. We have to work hard even better because humanity has to continue to eat, to need all those basic needs, to keep the life, to keep living. So ito yung opportunities na dapat pakinabangan natin. So yun ang ginagawa ni PESA. We created different activities that will continuously attract investors, that will continuously produce, manufacture, and export our goods and services to the world.
Ma'am DG, Gwen, we have a question for the Senator. This is a policy level question.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you very much, DG Plaza. Planadong-planado lahat how to address, yung mga issues and concerns confronting, the works in PESA. So next, I think we would, sir, may question po sa inyo, Chairman Gordon, Senator Gordon.
This question is for Senator Gordon.
Picking up maybe from your speech kanina or your introduction when you gave the talk, you were saying that the topic kasi is accelerating vaccination and reviving, the economy. However, you said, hindi lang reviving economy kailangan natin. We have to revive the country. So, sir, can you expound on that a bit? Yung po yung question sa atin. Thank you.
Senator, we, in addition to the question from Director Gwen, similar question po from our audience. While we see a lot of policies circulated on employers encouraging employees to get the vaccine and not mandating to avoid discrimination, but how about those applicants looking for a job? Wouldn't it be illegal for any company to deny job application for unvaccinated? We should have a policy there also. Yes, Senator Gordon?
Well, I'm not sure I understand the second question, but with respect to the first question, I think I hope I was clear when it was an extemporaneous speech, all right, but I was very clear that we need to change our country because we can always get out of the pandemic. Even without the immunization, we got out of the pandemic in 1917. What is important is we are able to orient our values, our attitudes, so that all of us can act as a country that is nation-oriented. Na everybody acts as if he's the one getting investments for the country. Nobody's going to come to this country if we are in bad shape, in peace and order. Nobody's going to come in if our hospitals are not able to accommodate emergencies. Nobody's going to come in if we show that we cannot even handle vaccination, or for that matter, taking care of those who are sick. And nobody's going to come to our country if we do not improve our educational system. It's a teacher, stupid. We don't have to build many schools, but we do have to build a lot of teachers who will make sure that they can teach our children to be able to comprehend, to be able to think for themselves, and to be able to research. Now is the era of information technology. It is so easy to get your telephone to look to Google certain things, but at the same time, you need a solid mind to appreciate whether there's fake news or actual truth that is being expounded. It is so important that we reinvent ourselves. In other words, that's why I say the pandemic is. I can handle the pandemic anytime. If you put me in there, I think I would have made sure that we would have had vaccination. As it is right now, I'd like to buy vaccines. In fact, galit ako because we advanced the money for Moderna, and some of you committed to buy Moderna from us, and yet the Moderna is not forthcoming yet. Ang nadala lang sa atin is almost 1,500 doses lang ata, or 800 for 800 people. We ordered for 200,000, and they're even saying it's going to be extended. So sabi ko nga, kung hindi lang may bibigay, sa uli na lang natin yung pera. But of course, magkakaroon pa ng impact yan. It's a very poor excuse to say that the government is the only one that can buy, because it's still on an emergency mode. What kind of an emergency is that when the whole world is using emergency medicine already? Yan ang ginagawa eh. Can you answer that, Dr. Herbosa? Sure, we're emergency, but the whole world is using emergency. So the idea here is to facilitate the entree of the emergency medicine so we can reduce. Ang problema, there is greed. Some of the countries are doing vaccine imperialism. They're trying to get the vaccines and give it to their countries first. And even now, the third dose, they're going to buy that again. And countries like us, medyo mabagal tayo, hindi tayo namili kaagad. Dapat namili tayo kaagad. Bakit yung Red Cross namili kaagad nung tinatawag nating molecular laboratories? And we were able to deliver. And so, magandang to the credit of the government, they saw that we can do it. They made a deal with us, even if they're not paying us on time. The PhilHealth still owes us $500 million pesos. And the PhilHealth owes hospitals 1.5 billion. So there is really no price. And one of the worst things that I'd like to say here, meritocracy. Meritocracy. Yan ang maganda sa ibang bansa, may meritocracy. Hindi ka mapapasa dahil may kaibigan ka o malakas ka. Papasa ka because magaling ka. And that's why there is a price for being innovative. That's why if you're focused, you're fast, you're friendly, madali kang matuto, madali kang maintindihan, you're intelligible, you're flexible, hindi ka nakakahon yung utak mo, dapat mabilis ka. Ang problema sa atin is una muna ako bago iba. Kaya yan ang problema. So far as the second question is concerned, would you repeat it again, please?
Sir, it's regarding the program for, sabi po ng audience, we're talking here about employment issues, but what about po yung mga unemployment issues? Are there policies also for those who are unemployed? I think
definitely. Yeah. Everybody must be vaccinated. How can he get a job if he's not vaccinated? Diba? To me, ako, kung marami lang vaccine, anybody can go in and get vaccinated. In America, you go to a pharmacy, you get vaccinated. You go to a gasoline station, you get vaccinated. Pero kulang tayo sa vaccine. Ang sabi ko nga, dun sa kaya nilagay ko yung sa EDSA, naglagay ako doon, bababa ka na lang sa bus, kung mag-a-apply ka pa, di magtatagal pa. Naglagay ako doon ng quick line, mag-apply ka rito, may computer doon, kukunin namin, then you can right away, without any appointment, makakapasok ka. Pero may mga line doon sa mga nagpa-appointment. So speed again is the name of the game. Di ba sabi ko, focus, fast, friendly, madali, flexible, madali tayo. So importante na yung mga wala nang trabaho, mabigyan sila ng vaccination kagad. After all, that's free, it's paid for by the government. At pagka sila ay nabigyan ng bakuna, may laban sila. Tatanungin ka, bakunado ka na ba? Kung di ka bakunado, hindi kita kukunin. Talo ka na kagad, di ba? Did I answer the question, sir?
Yes, Senator. Thank you so much po.
Thank you.
Yeah, Ma'am DG, you have a rejoinder regarding the program for PESA with unemployment?
We have the dollar program. We call it Development Outreach for Labor, Livelihood, and Advancement of Resources. So, lahat ng may mga bakante sa mga locator companies natin, sa mga ecozone operators, they course it through our dollar program. So, we have now vacancies from all our ecozones and locator companies which can be seen online. No? So, ang ating mga unemployed looking for jobs, you can go to that link that you can find in your cell phones. No? Ang lahat ng mga bakante ng ating mga locator companies. As of today, we have almost 70,000 vacancies available in our ecozone operators and locator companies. So mag-apply po kayo doon.
By the way, if I may add,
Sige po.
with your permission, think about this, all of you listeners out there, think about this. I fought tooth and nail against denigrating or degrading the incentives of PESA. Galit na galit ako dyan. I did not vote, by the way. Gwen, you were wrong. I did not vote precisely because of that. I was the only one who voted against it. I thought that the government was playing tricks on us. Tama yung ibaba yung taxes ng corporations. Pero bakit mo ibababa? Why fix something that isn't broken? Ang gagawin ko doon, kung ako yun, o ikaw, EPSA ka, hindi ka nangunguha ng investment, mawawala yung investment mo in 2 years kung di ka magdadagdag ng investments. Kaya ka binigyan yan para makakuha ka ng investments, pero kung di mo ginagamit, out of the parade ka. Does that make sense to you? I think it does. Ang tanong ko sa inyo ngayon, pag natapos ang COVID o patapos ang COVID, at tanongin ko rin si Ted Herbosa, my brad, pag natapos ang COVID, hindi ba magtatakbuhan lahat ang tao ngayon? Pupunta ako sa Japan, pupunta si ganito sa China, pupunta si ganito sa Europe, kukuha ng investments yan. Lahat ng mundo, maghahanap ng investments yan. Di ba? Pagdating dito, nagko-compete lahat yan. Tinanggal mo pa yung incentives mo. Paano tayo makakagawa ng trabaho? The whole point of PESAs and EPSAs is to create a tax base. Kung wala kang tax base, talagang kawawa tayo. Hindi tayo makakagawa ng pera pambili ng COVID vaccine. Kung akala natin lahat kabig ang gobyerno, hindi. Government is supposed to provide opportunity, equal opportunity. And if you're going to provide incentives, that is how you get opportunity for your people to get jobs. That's what I'm saying. I hope I'm very clear on that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, sir. I'm sorry. Maybe what I meant is that you fought very hard na hindi matanggal yung incentive to PESA. So, thank you. Thank you, sir.
Director Gwen, we still have questions. Would you like
yes.
to
we have questions. So may parang cluster of questions to kay Dr. Ted Herbosa. So just please answer very, very quick one by one. Kasi isa parang, most of the questions are scientific. I think you're the right person to answer. Okay. The first, itong cluster of questions that we want to relate to you is one, what can you say about the statement of a toxicology, pharmacology, Dr. Romeo Quijano, who said that the vaccine is more dangerous than the virus itself? And then, can the vaccination card be standardized for all so that, it can be accepted by countries when, they want to work outside Philippines? Is there a need to update the close contact definition given the rise of Delta variant? And are establishment allowed to reject entrance of non-vaccinated people as of now? So, apat yun. But just very quick.
Apat, nahirapan ako doon. So first one, the vaccines are safe and effective. They're still under experimental. So kung minsan pag experimental, may lumalabas pa na harm or ang tawag dito, side effect na baka hindi natin makita. So baka tama siya, pero as of now, our FDA and several countries are using these vaccines. Madami nang nakatanggap nito at effective siya, nakaka-save siya ng buhay. So dapat magpabakuna tayo. Ano yung pangalawa?
Pangalawa, vaccination card. Ano ba?
Vaccination card. My opinion with the vaccination card is that right now meron tayong internationally accredited, yung BOQ. Pero hindi naman lahat kailangan ng vaccination card. Yung LGU card natin, pwede na yun sa buong Pilipinas. Tatanggapin natin yun kasi it's a government-issued card within the Philippines. Pero pag bumabiyahe ka abroad or OFW ka, kukuha ka ng trabaho abroad, kailangan pumunta ka sa BOQ at kunin mo yung WHO internationally accredited card. Yun lang ang nakakapag-issue ng card, yung ating Bureau of Quarantine. At yan ay internationally accepted. Hindi pwedeng i-deny. Yung LGU card nyo po, i-deny sa ibang bansa yan. Third question.
Third question is about do we have to update the definition of close contact when it comes to this?
Yes, oo. Now, dati ang close contact with the alpha and beta is 15 minutes of conversation or talking 1 meter apart. Ngayon, fleeting contact, 5 seconds. Nag-hi, hello ka lang at positive yon, pwedeng mahawa ka na. So, mas dangerous talaga yung Delta. Fleeting contact siya ngayon.
Okay, and then the last is establishment. Are they allowed to reject entrance of people who has not been vaccinated?
No, because sinabi na ng DOH yan, no? We cannot discriminate against people who are unvaccinated. Kasi ang bagal pa nga ng gobyerno. Nagagalit nga si Senator Gordon sa akin eh. Dahil kulang pa yung bakuna. Kayo, di ba, hindi pa nababakunahan yung mga taga-PESA. So until that time na hindi available yung pwede kang pumunta ka lang sa kanto at magpabakuna, I doubt if dapat gawin yan kasi discriminatory yan. Ilan lang, 12% pa lang ng populasyon ang may bakuna. Imagine, the 88% i-deny mo ng entry. So, hindi pwede yan, hindi pwede yan.
Thank you, Dr. Herbosa. Alim?
Yes, Gwen. Thank you, Dr. Herbosa. These are series of questions. I will just mention them, medyo interrelated sila. Senator Gordon and DG Plaza could answer this. Thank you, DG Plaza, Senator Gordon, for the support to the educators and the investors under PESA. Work from home extension has been approved until December 2022, and this has been endorsed to the FIRB and the DOF. When do we expect the approval to come out? And then another related question. How can PESA help employers so their employees be vaccinated, especially those in the respective LGU where they are not yet entertained? What are the requirements and eligibilities for us to be entertained by the LGU? Can PESA workers, all whether reporting to work or work from home or no work, get ayuda to be mandated by Department of Labor and PESA to the employers, not from the LGU, because in LGU, ayuda are not being granted or given. Ma'am DG or Senator Gordon?
Let me answer first. No? Actually, leadership skills. how good we are in coordinating, partnering with the LGUs, no? So, mapakinabangan din natin because this is election period. Kaya yung LGU leaders who has that common sense, no, should take advantage of this free vaccination program, di ba? So yun ang ginagawa ng mga LGUs na may common sense. Binibigyan nila ng priority itong ating mga eco-zone workers. And because basically, if we want to continue with the economy afloat, no, kailangan bigyan natin ng importansya yung ating mga workers, the essential workers who are the economic frontliners, na dapat sila yung very healthy para continuous yung operations ng ating mga industries. So we are doing that. So we are using this strategy of making the eco-zone workers as priority by the LGUs. Bibigyan ba sila ng ayuda? I hope yung camp, anong ibig sabihin ng camp, Teo? there is a wage subsidy, they call it CAMP, no, from the DOLE, where every industry workers or ecozone workers are supposed to enjoy 5,000 money, no, parang equivalent sa SAP for the poor in the barangays. Unfortunately, hindi nabigyan ng priority yung ating mga ecozone workers because nandyan yung mga investors, mga locators, mga employers. So instead, ang pera ng camp ay nafo-focus doon sa SAP for the poor of the barangays. Oo. So these are COVID adjustment measures program. Ang ibig sabihin ng camp, COVID adjustment measures, supposedly bibigyan ng 5,000 each ecozone or industry worker. Pero hindi po nangyayari sa karamihan ng ating mga ecozone dahil yung pera ng gobyerno mas nakafocus sa SAP para sa mga poor in the communities.
Also asking about update on the work from home scheme.
Yeah, that's it. I mentioned that yung work from home scheme will continue yung 90% work from home for every industry, most especially the IT BPOs. No? And we had the PESA board approved PESA management's request that it should be extended up to December 2022. And we are awaiting for the response of the DOF and DTI on that issue, no, of work from home up to December 2022. Naghintay pa po kami ng sagot.
Thank you, Ma'am DG Plaza. Director Gwen, would you like to ask that question
Yes.
regarding Philippine Red Cross?
So, yes, may question po directed sa Philippine Red Cross. Ito po yung question. I hope Senator Gordon can cover later the status of the Red Cross Moderna vaccination reservation. Before ko ipagtuloy yung question, ang Philippine Red Cross po ay through Chairman Gordon talagang nag-decide. So you have to make a decision here, not to what to do kasi ang supply is the number one problem, and it was problem even months months ago. So ang ginawa ni Chairman Gordon is just to be able to address this issue, nag-order siya ng Moderna vaccine. So that's why this was open, to all who don't have access to the LGU. So ang tanong dito, sir, yung sa reservation doon ng Moderna vaccine, are they considered confirmed orders already, or Red Cross will reconfirm the orders, especially if, they placed bulk orders? Parang di ito naka-receive ng confirmation to. So there could be people who were already been vaccinated that has registered previously. How will they cancel it if ever? Do they have to contact? Or email or text? Where can they post, further inquiries after the vaccine reservation? So yun po yung tanong, sir, about the Moderna vaccine.
Let me answer that directly. Yung Moderna na binili ng Red Cross, iba yun sa na binibigay ng gobyerno ngayon ng Moderna. Nagbigay ang ibang gobyerno sa Philippine government ng Moderna. Pati kami nabigyan. In fact, yung binigay sa kami ng Moderna, reserve yun para sa mga aalis na seamen in 2 months at saka yung aalis na OFW in 2 months. So yung binili namin, hindi pa dumarating sa amin. Talagang nakakainis talaga. Gusto ko na nga bawiin yung pera namin because nakatenga yung pera doon. $5 million plus yun kung di ko nagkakamali. Now, yung mga nag-reserve, I don't know if you paid in advance. And I know that none of you have paid in advance as far as I know. Is that confirmed? Kung makakakuha kayo ng iba, di magpa-vaccinate na kayo at aalisin namin kayo doon sa reservation. Pero kung talagang gusto nyo maghintay ng Moderna, it will be there for you. Naka-reserve sa inyo yun. So, I want to be very clear about that. If you want to cancel, you can simply email vaccines@redcross.org.ph. Kakasalin namin kayo. And believe you me, ang dami nakapila na gustong kunin yung magka-cancel. Gusto nila Moderna. Pero hanggang ngayon, ang sabi, ang latest sa akin, darating raw by late August, yung second tranche. Ewan ko kung ilan na naman yon. Yung third tranche, mga September na siguro, hanggang the latter part of December. So, that is clear. Siyempre, kung assuming wala akong nalalaman na nagbigay ng pera in advance, no? Ang pinadala sa akin, out of the 200,000, 300,000 doses. 3,000 doses lang. That means 1,500 people lang ang mababakunahan. Dahil 2 dose. Alright? So yun, nabakunahan na. Yung iba, di pa dumarating, you'll have to wait. Don't blame us because wala naman kayong magagawa doon eh. Kung unless gusto nyo, ayaw ko na magpa-reserve. Wala naman nawala sa inyo, hindi naman kayo nagbigay ng pera. But it would be nice if you say, ayoko na para we will formally tell you or we'll taking you out of the list. In fact, somebody called me today from New York. Kung pwede, nagmamakawa, kung pwede makakuha siya. Dadagdagan niya raw yung nireserve na 35 to 100 dahil marami siyang kamag-anak sa Santa Cruz, Laguna. Sabi ko, magpa-reserve ka, kung merong aatras, ibibigay namin sa iyo. I hope that's clear.
Thank you. Thank you, Senator Chairman Gordon. That is very clear. Totoo po yan. Hanggang ngayon, marami po nagko-contact sa Philippine Red Cross, no, to ask kung pwede pa silang mag-reserve. Because nakakatanggap din ako ng mga tawag every day, madami. But again, thank you very much. Sir.
Back to the previous question yung kanina kay Asim. Nagtatanong ka sa FIRB. Ang reaction ko sa FIRB is that it is an appendix. Hindi mo kailangan. Kailangan putulin yan. Bakit ba maglalagay tayo ng layer pa of bureaucracy? Andiyan na yung PESA. Dapat sila ang PESA. Pagtiwalaan mo. Andiyan na ang SUBIC. Pagtiwalaan mo. Ba't ka patatakbo doon sa FIRB? Pagka gano'n ang ginagawa, nagsususpecha ako, merong gustong manghurakot. Diretso naman ako magsalita eh. Hindi umangal kayo.
Salamat. Yeah, salamat, Chairman. Okay, so, well, unfortunately, we do not have enough time, no, to answer all the questions. Marami po mga tanong na collect natin. So what we're going to do with those questions is we're going to farm it out doon sa ating mga speakers, and then we collect some of the answers and we'll share through you through the organizers para you can your questions can be answered. Now, to all the virtual participants, you may also continue to open writing your questions or your suggestions, your recommendations, your reflection para ma-capture po natin yan. And then also, meron po tayong we will have a post-event parang questionnaire that we're going to send to you. So please do please do participate in that answer and give it back to us so that we know how to improve, in the next forum that we're going to organize, or baka may suggestions kayo. And also, you can put your questions there and we will come back to you. Now, at this point in time, we want to thank all those who put in their questions, and we want to thank also our 3 high levels esteemed speakers, for answering all the questions sharply, succinctly, and also very logical po yung mga and practical, pragmatic, kasi minsan nagsumasagot yung ating mga especially officials, answers that we cannot even grasp kung yung sagot na yun, but with our 3 speakers we're able to really get the action needed, the solution. So again, thank you very much, DG Plus, Senator Dick Gordon, Dr. Ted Herbosa. Maraming salamat. Over to you, Alim.
Gwen, sandali.
Senator Gordon would like to talk. Yes,
Alim, Chairman Gordon would like to speak.
Tatanong sa atin ay iba, yung mga ngailangan ng madali ang dugo, halimbawa, madali ang ambulansya, pwede kayong tumawag sa 1158 or 143. Kasama yan sa pipirmahan natin ni Charito, Plaza, ni Administrator Plaza. At the same time, kung gusto naman makakokontak sa akin, pwede rin. I will give you my number. Handaan nyo na yung papel nyo at saka lapis ninyo. Okay? Are you ready? I'll say it now. 0920-952-9232. 0920.
Sir, ang bilis po.
0920-952-7232. I answer all my calls, believe you me. Huwag lang kayo manghihingi ng load. Did everybody get it, Glenn?
Yeah, I wrote it down also. 0920-952-7232. I wrote it down on the chat box. So
good,
that
good.
Can capture it. 0920-952-7232.
And ba kayo ng telepono na matatawagan ninyo?
Hotlines of Philippine Red Cross are 143 and 1158. Ayan po, linagay ko rin po sa chat box. No? Yan. Okay. Thank you very much, Senator Dick, DG Ching Plaza, and Dr. Ted Herbosa. So, Alim, let's move to the next part, which is one of the highlights of the event.
Gwen, muli po aming pasasalamat. This will not be the end of this conversation. You could actually reach us to our team, both from PESA, from Philippine Red Cross, and the Office of Senator Gordon. We're going to post our email addresses where you can reach out to us. And as mentioned by Director Gwen, in the field form, please do not hesitate to extend your questions. At this virtual juncture, allow me to proudly recognize the presence of the President of the Semiconductor and Electronic Industries in the Philippines Foundation Incorporated, or SEPI. He will be delivering his manifestation of support message in line with Senator Richard Gordon, the Philippine Red Cross, DG Plaza, Philippine Economic Zone Authority collaboration in our today's online nationwide vaccination forum and reviving the Philippine economy. May we call on the SEPI President, Mr. Dan Lachica.
Thank you, Alim. Senator Gordon, PRC Chairman, and Director General, Brigadier General Ching Plaza, and also our speaker. The electronics industry is the biggest generator of commodity exports at close to $40 billion, which is 62% of the country's exports. And, we won't be able to get to this level without the commitment and the consistent support of the Philippine Economic Zone Authority. And also, over the years, we have been supportive of the PRC initiatives for bloodletting, and most recently for their other initiatives with our industry CSR donations. I was listening to the questions earlier, and maybe just to give you an idea of how helpful and committed PESA is, one of our members who happens to be in AFAB basically reached out because the LGU, although they are economic frontliners, they're considered an economic industry, they were asked to shut down by AFAB, okay? And because of different infrastructure issues. And I think this kind of shows the difference between PESA and maybe in this particular case AFAB, because I know with the DG Plaza, she will not rest until this issue is resolved. And maybe I'll also want to take this opportunity for, maybe Senator Gordon can also help, because I guess one of the reasons is not all the industries are ready for the ECQ, and the electronics industry is, so nadamay, in other words. So to make a long story short, again, I would like to thank our beloved DG Ching Plaza and also Senator Gordon for your undying support for the industry. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dan Lachica. Back to you, Gwen.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Again, Mr. Dan Lachica, SEMI President, for your remarkable message, sir. And natutuwa ako to hear that the PESA is contributing to 60% of the country's export, galing. So ito yung contribution ng PESA. That's why PESA is very important in reviving our economy and also reviving our countries. Kaya sana yung mga empleados natin sa PESA ay ma-vaccinate na, which is very, very important. And Philippine Red Cross and PESA tremendously thank, the whole SAPI, for your support in our combined initiatives. Maraming salamat. It's truly undeniable how important for each and every one of us, to put our forces together in order to fight against, this COVID-19 pandemic. And now we have reached the final part of our program. Honorable guests, distinguished delegates, media friends and partners and colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, today we will be witnessing the signing of the Memorandum of Understanding between
the Philippine Economic Zone Authority and
the Philippine Red Cross. So,
yes, Gwen, we will be joined here in our, yes, Director Gwen, here in our auditorium. We will be joined again by PESA Director General Chorito Ching Plaza, with the Deputy Director General for Policy and Planning, Mr. Tereso Panga. And I understand we also have officials from the Office of Senator Gordon joining us, and the Philippine Red Cross. Would you like to acknowledge them, Gwen?
Yes, so joining, Senator Richard Dick Gordon on the side of the Philippine Red Cross for the signing of the MOU with PESA, we have the Philippine Red Cross Chief Legal Counsel Attorney Mangay Guro Jr. We have the Philippine Red Cross Secretary Elizabeth Zavalia. We have the Office of Senator Dick Gordon, OIC, or she's the Chief Legislation Staff Officer. We have Attorney Mary Maan Salada, and then and also I think in the Philippines we have a bunch of witnesses as well, aside from those names that I mentioned.
And also we also would like to acknowledge again representing the private sector, Mr. SEPI, President of SEPI, Mr. Danilo Lachica, Officer in charge of the Office of the Deputy Director General for Operation, Attorney Norma B. Tanyag, Deputy Director General for Finance and Administration, Mr. Justo Porfirio Yusinco, and of course, joining physically at the auditorium with DG Plaza, Deputy Director General for Policy and Planning, Mr. Tereso Panga.
Great.
So now, Gwen, we're witnessing the MOU signing between the Philippine Economic Zone Authority and
the Philippine Red Cross. So let's put them on the screen para makita natin sila, because all of us should also witness this very important event or moment, no? So bakit naka-off yung again kay Chairman Gordon, and then let's do the signing ceremony.
On behalf of PESA, I am now signing this Memorandum of Agreement with the Philippine Red Cross.
Chairman Gordon? Okay, so as we witness, the Memorandum of Understanding is formally established. It will formally establish a framework for both parties, Alim, diba? And then
yes,
to have mutual benefit regarding the facilitation of disaster preparedness in all PESA ecozones.
Yes, that's right. This agreement is an enabling framework for the parties, mutual benefit to facilitate disaster preparedness in all PESA economic zones.
And the parties, both parties can pursue a more detailed cooperation through specific agreements, to be signed by Philippine Red Cross and PESA.
Yeah, PESA and Philippine Red Cross shall provide each other the necessary inputs to fast-track the development of, by way of technical assistance, priority areas to conduct disaster preparedness program and initiatives within PESA ecozones and locators.
And both parties shall carry out measures geared towards the realization of the objectives as set forth in the agreement through enhanced coordination, cooperation, including the provisions of technical assistance and capability building in adapting the disaster management services core programs for further safeguard to further safeguard the developers and locators and workers in PESA ecozones.
Both PESA and PRC shall explore opportunities for joint cooperation in the enhancement of disaster risk reduction and preparedness in all the PESA ecozones. There we go in the screen, Director Gwen, Brigadier General Chorito Ching Plaza, and Honorable Senator Richard Gordon.
Okay, so May we request both what's this, DG Ching Plaza to stay, and also Chairman Gordon for the photo opportunity. So let's take the photo now.
1, 2, and 3. Yeah, we also invite Dr. Dan La Chica to be on the screen
Yes.
as our witness representing the private sector. And of course, Dr. Herbosa and representative. Can we have representative also from the Secretary General of the Philippine Red Cross to be online?
All the witnesses, yeah. Let us request all the witnesses of both parties to please put on your camera and also be on the screen. No, we
Yes,
have
that's
Attorney Mangay, we have Attorney Salada, we have Secretary General Liza Zavalia.
Yes.
Let's put them on the screen.
1, 2, and 3.
Okay.
There we go, ladies and gentlemen. The MOU signing between the Philippine Economic Zone Authority
And the Philippine Red Cross. So yeah, we are excited to see, how this agreement can be translated into actual, action, in the field on the ground. So talagang, we believe that the two organizations, PESA and Philippine Red Cross, can really work hand in hand, in disaster management services. Maraming salamat po.
Director Gwen, baka may mga last minute na pabati sina Senator Gordon and DG Plaza. 1 minute final remarks.
1 minute each, no?
Yes,
So we
yes.
would like to request DG Ching Plaza to give us, a 1 minute message about this agreement, and then followed by Senator Richard Gordon, Chairman and CEO of Philippine Red Cross.
Well, as I said, the battle cry now is Galing Pinas, Galing Pinas. So I thank Senator Gordon and our governors of the Philippine Red Cross and all its staff and employees for this great partnership that we are having. Right now, actually, we have been partners all along, but this is now formalizing our partnership, not just on disaster and calamity response, but in all aspects of making our country better and stronger. Maraming salamat, Senator Gordon.
Maraming salamat po, DG Ching Plaza, Chairman.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Ching, and to all of you who have been here. This is again a hallmark of an exercise of humanitarian citizenship. With the signing of this document, I'd like to think that all the employees and staff of the PESA, as well as the locators, will take to heart that we believe we live in one world, and that one world must be characterized by our love of humanity, our service to our fellow man. And certainly PESA enhances the Red Cross because it's a big organization. It's an organization that will inculcate a culture of humanitarianism, which we need so much in the world today. I thank you, Cheng, for your vision, for your values, and certainly now for your volunteerism. And I'd like to see all our members of the PESA, the workers in the PESA, become a volunteer, card-carrying member of the Red Cross, because that will show that you're a very good person, and that will also, if you want to learn how to save lives, how to get blood for your neighbor, how to get, and at the same time, make sure that you are identified as a respectable person, a humanitarian at heart. Thank you very much.
Maraming salamat po, Honorable Senator Richard D. Gordon, an investment genius himself. Maraming salamat po. So we come to the final part of our program. Director Gwen, the photo ops of everyone. Kindly turn on your camera. I think we have more than 1,000 attendees. So it will take some few minutes, right, to click all the photo ops.
Yeah. So please, stay, on the screen. Keep smiling or putting on that big smile. Continuous po because marami po tayong screen gagawin, shots, kasi ang dami po natin. So, okay, ready na ba lahat? Are we all ready? Please give us a thumbs up if you are ready. So we will, okay, great. All right, so please stay on the screen with a big smile and we'll take the photo of every screen, of everyone. All right, ready? Yes. 1, 2, 3.
We go with the first slide first. Next slide. 1, 2, and 3. Next slide. 1, 2, and 3. Fourth slide. 1, 2, and 3.
Next slide.
Madami.
Yes, Director Gwen, we happen to have 13. So we're now in the 5th.
Okay.
1,
so,
2.
Yeah, because we don't know which slide are we.
Yes, just keep on smiling. Madali na lang to.
Mm.
We are now in the 6th. 1, 2, and 3. 7th. 8th slide. 1, 2, and 3. 9th slide. 1, 2, and 3. 10th. 1, 2, and 3. 11th. 12. We go for the final slide. Final slide. Cheers, everyone. Galing Pinas. I invite again DG in the screen for the Peso Battle Cry and also Senator Gordon.
Cheers. Thank you.
By the way,
God bless
we
everybody.
have 1,000 plus audience in Facebook. So please follow my hand signals ba yun? And our battle cry in Peza.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Not yet. Galing Pinas, meaning sa likod.
Galing Pinas.
Galing Pinas.
Galing Pinas.
Have a nice weekend. Bagong bayan.
Yeah.
Yes.
Tapos ang Red Cross naman, Chairman. Always first, always ready, always there.
Okay, this time Red Cross.
Sabay-sabay tayo. Volunteers. Plus logistics.
Plus logistics.
Plus information technology.
Plus information technology.
Plus the Red Cross that is always first.
That is always first.
Always ready.
Ready.
And always there.
Always there.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Senator
Great.
Gordon and Director
Ang galing
General.
talaga. Galing Pinas, and Philippine Red Cross, always first, always ready, always there.
Yes, Director Gwen.
Thank
We
you to
just wanted
both
to acknowledge-
organizations. We really want to see through this partnership and, and really realize the objectives of this agreement and beyond. Maraming salamat po, Chairman Gordon, for leading that, and also DG Ching Plaza.
Yeah, we have 900 participants via Zoom, and we have more than 1,000 in total via Facebook, in the different YouTube channel and Facebook Live with the Office of Senator Gordon, the Philippine Economic Zone Authority, and the Philippine Red Cross. Gwen, it's been a pleasure working with you in this project. And also we'd like to acknowledge our Deputy Director General, Teresa Panga, for facilitating this event, a special edition of the Global Beast with PESA, together with the Philippine Red Cross and the Office of Senator Gordon.
Maraming salamat. And yeah, thank you so much for the unceasing, support of PESA and for the untiring work that the Philippine Red Cross is doing for the country. Maraming salamat po sa lahat. Lahat sa inyo. Kayo po importante, yung mga nag-attend sa event din na to. Maraming salamat. Okay, guys. So everyone, enjoy the weekend. And let's keep this conversation going and strengthen the partnership.
Thank you, Director Gwen. Thank you to the Director
Thank you,
General
Alim.
of PESA.
Thank you very much. Thank you,
Senator
everyone.
Gordon, and of course, the Secretary General of the Philippine Red Cross.
Liza Zabadia is
Thank you,
also
Alim. Thank you, Alim.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Gwen.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you also to our team, the working committee from
Yes,
PESA.
the working team. Maraming salamat. They're so
Yes.
active,
Sila
giving
Sir
us
Chuck.
always, updates and keeping us, on track.
Yes.
We're very good with the time.
Sila Sir
Galing ng
Chuck sa
timing
Office of
natin.
Senator Gordon, Attorney
From
Maan,
Honda
Attorney
Logistics.
Maan,
yes,
yes.
for Philippine Red Cross, si Consul Annette
Yeah, Attorney
Advan,
Maan, thank you very much.
and of course,
Lahat
PPRG,
po, lahat.
Philip, Drew, and the team, DC Ryson. Magandang hapon po.
Yes, salamat. Mr. Teo also, salamat.